Oh, okay. So good evening and welcome to the Halifax Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, April 9th. We are being taped by Area 58 Cable, which can be seen on YouTube and your local cable channel. And we will begin the meeting by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Troy, you're not gonna sing. You're not gonna sing.
Give him a minute.
My country. Tis of thee.
He usually does that totally on his own. And we love it.
So that was being asked.
Yes, and we love it. So we
Well, they
hear,
used to do it in school all the time, and they've taken so much of the positive stuff out of schools that it's really ridiculous. I mean, come on. After all, you can't have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You can't read that anymore because she's a single girl living with 7 guys. That's what they
moving on.
said.
I didn't hear that. That was new to me, so.
yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, Representative. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure to be here. Sorry I didn't make it the other night.
That's okay. We can make it brief. We just wanted to kind of
Okay.
say hello and
I'm so glad.
is there anything else that you wanted to talk to us about what
Well,
you're
I did.
working
So
on?
I mentioned to Troy and Tom before the meeting started, I thought it started at 6. I met with Senator Brady today about the Mont Ponce issue that he's putting it on the Senate side, and I will continue to do that on the House side as my predecessor did. I also, as one of my priorities, put in some money for the COA, for the Halifax COA. And then, I don't know if you remember, but Senator Brady said that the chief of police had an ask too, and he couldn't remember what it was when we met, so I didn't know if you knew what that was. I can reach out to
There
him
was an
tomorrow.
increase on the fee on, I'm not sure if it was registration or what it was, but there was money was supposed to have been given to the police departments.
I'll check. I'll find out. I'll call the
He'll be
chief.
here actually.
He's supposed to
later.
be here tonight, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure what
He'll be
time.
here at, he will be here at 7:45.
Volleyball meeting.
Our last appointment's at 9.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
We have some short ones.
It's not the last one, but it would be a finish for the night.
Wow. And just wanted to let you know that I do not have a district office, but I do office hours within the district, and I'm here once a month in Halifax at your wonderful library. So
Awesome.
I have.
What days?
I'm there the.
Last Monday.
Thank you. Thank you. Last Monday of the month.
12 to 2.
12 to 2, yes.
Oh, good.
And I have had constituents every single time I've been there, so it's been great. And they're very sweet over there.
Yeah.
The library, great librarians, I have to say. So that is it. Any questions for me? Or anything that you would like for priorities for you, things that you need help with in the town that I could assist with?
Probably just the same things that you face as a
Yeah, I was-
selectman,
yeah,
which
Right.
is,
exactly.
you know, underfunding of Chapter 70, underfunding of special ed, you know,
Diversion of the church. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, diversion of charter school.
Yeah, that's
That's a big
painful.
one.
Yeah,
It is painful.
the charter schools really need to be rolled off on their own in the sense of create their own districts.
Yes.
Rather than siphoning the money by Chapter 70. I mean, we're seeing a hit in Silver Lake in that they lost more money than they got from Chapter 70 in the gross, so they actually are net down for state aid this coming year. But I look at like the city of Boston, they lose more money from charter than they actually totally get from Chapter 70. So they're in essence funding out of the property taxes the charter schools. The charter schools just need to be over there, get their own revenue stream.
And the sad part about it is that charter schools they can choose who they want to come to their school. Public schools have to deal with all the problems, whether it's special needs,
Right.
change it. So they need the money,
Special needs teacher.
yeah.
And they can use the money to advertise, which is kind of crazy too.
And parents have to opt out rather than opt in to get the advertising.
Right.
It should be the other way around. Parents should have a choice whether they're going to have advertising sent to them using their own money
Right.
to do so.
I realize that.
So totally different thing, solar fields should try and get between the court decisions and the state laws on solar fields and pilots and such, get that straightened out so there's some consistent mechanism that governs the whole process, so we don't have to have these individual fights, either in court or with the pilots with the solar developers.
I think there is some legislation pending in the huge monstrous package of legislation that you guys are going to
Well, I
face.
know there's some bills that have been filed around charter schools, but solar fields, so I know in other towns, we're looking at putting solar fields on town land right now, so you're specifically. the solar
It's
fields-
more to do, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's more to do with how they're treated in terms of payment of
Private
taxes
property.
and private property, personal property. It's so gray, and the court
It is gray.
decisions have been kind of all over the place. Just some consistency. I know I went to the Plymouth County Assessors meeting not too long ago, and the sentiment was, we don't care what it is, just tell us what the hell it is,
Right,
so we know how to deal with it.
right.
So that, obviously, like I said, the legislation's pending anyway, but that would be helpful. Obviously, we'd like to see some payment as opposed to no payment.
Yeah, I would like to see payments
Yeah.
as well.
That would
There's
be
money
interesting.
in the program. Everybody gets greedy and they don't like to share, that's all.
There are some technical difficulties with enforcing school buses and the flashing red lights and stop signs in that, in trying to work with the school bus company, work with the school district. We're trying, and our police department trying to prevent people from passing the buses and endangering our children. One of the things that's come up is it might be, we've thought about, well, could we put cameras on the buses, on the stop sign, so the stop sign comes out, the camera is on, and it can record. Well, one of the problems is in terms of traffic enforcement in Massachusetts, it might be illegal to use the cameras for traffic enforcement. In that you have to have a human being doing the work rather
To
than.
actually witness, a human being actually witnessing. the
Right,
car.
yeah, I know in Rhode Island, they had to pass legislation to set up the cameras, for instance, in Providence, for people speeding or going through stop signs, but I don't know, we've talked to the bus company, that was one of the things we got back from them, is they couldn't put cameras on, well, they could always put cameras on a bus, but it wouldn't do any
But it
good for
wouldn't do anything
enforcement.
legally.
Yeah, and we're,
I'll have to look into actually.
and certainly, we could have police cars follow the buses, but we got 10 buses going around Halifax, we got 2
Right.
police cars. It's not,
I know, this whole district is really short.
We need
on
better.
Officers, they all have like 2 on the road, Clinton has 1.
One,
but,
yeah.
That I know a lot about. Let me look into that for you.
is there legislation that the board should be aware of that is being given serious consideration in terms of dealing with municipalities that, the board should at least take a look into, that you're aware of? I mean, obviously, outside the larger budget and Chapter 70 and such.
In other words, is there anything that you need the board support as far as maybe writing in or something to support you in that?
Well, I'm trying to think of the ponds, so that's always been in there, so maybe some support with the ponds as well. I can send an email to you, would be the best to send an email to you with maybe some language around that, because that would be helpful.
Okay.
The hearing is not scheduled yet for that, but I would love, if you're not able to come in, but at least
Right.
have some written testimony for that would be fantastic. That's gonna be in the budget, I'm trying to think other things that I filed that would affect here. A lot of the things that I filed had to do with public safety. That was something I refiled for Tom, and it's gonna happen one of these days. So I'm not popular in Brockton right now because of that, but that's okay, right?
It's not your district.
It's not my district. It's the state. But let me look into something that would affect you from municipalities.
Okay.
I haven't heard of anything, but I will look into that. I'll look into the solar fields and the bus issue, the camera on the bus.
It's just strange that all of a sudden now, for years, people were obeying those signs. Years, and all of a sudden now
And
it's
all of a sudden you're finding,
finding that people are passing the buses, not stopping when they stop. And it happened to me this morning when I was over in Bridgewater, putting my grandkids on the bus, and the bus stopped, and the person, he didn't go directly by the bus, but he made a turn, and kids were walking up the street to get on the bus.
There's been a little change in the paradigm of school buses. There used to be a time they were collecting points. Now they're stopping at every driveway. So I see drivers
That's true.
getting frustrated and
That's
going,
true.
hey, this is going to take me all day to get to work, and I can't pass this.
Better known as the hiccup.
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, I'm just saying that's.
No, but I understand that, I do see that as well, as when I'm stuck behind a bus. It used to be, remember, when we all
Yeah.
walked to the bus stop?
Right.
Now it's like every other driveway.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I see that too. Okay, so I will look into that. Okay, anything else you can think of? But I do have my card, I have cards finally.
That's
So let me
good.
hand those out, just got my office and now I have cards. So please.
You're official now.
I'm official. Anything that you can think of, feel free to give me a call or,
You may be sorry you said.
no, I'm never sorry for that.
Thank you.
Or an email, shoot me an email.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, you sure.
Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Anytime I can come in, or if I have anything that I think that's important, I'll make an appointment.
Yeah,
Please do.
perfect.
Call.
Yeah,
Pam, yeah.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good
Thank
to
you.
see you all.
take care.
Good luck with you.
Oh, thank
Good luck
you.
with everything.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any additions to the agenda?
No,
Was everybody able to review the regular session for October 17th, regular session for October 18th, regular session for January 22nd, and the regular session for February 12th?
yep.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Tom, do you
Aye.
want to take it away?
Sure. I move to affirm approval of the following warrants and commitments. Payroll warrant number 87 for $367,907.67. Vendor warrant number 88 for $133,690.39. Withholding warrant number 89 for $133,955.98. School warrant number 90 for $397,203.04. Ambulance commitment from 3/18/19 to 3/24/19, $56,275.29. Ambulance commitment from 3/25/19 to 3/31/19, $54,776.06.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve the following warrant and commitment. Vendor warrant number 91 for $54,756.77. Mobile home park fee number 4 for $5,160.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve payment of the Selectmen bills dated April 9, 2019, as soon as I dig them out. Brooks and Durensis, PC, Attorney Lawrence P. Mayo, Matthew Bender and Company for a total of $13,351.68. Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, Plymouth, for $1,180. Express Newspapers for $22.50. CNA Surety for $100, and that's it for selecting bills.
I'll second those.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Charlie, it's all you.
So we've already talked to Representative Latra. Just an update, short update for the elementary school doors, windows, and sign project. The plans to complete the work during the school vacation week next week. If needed, I'll set up another meeting for the interested parties in late April.
Oh, yeah, because,
Yeah.
come on.
Right. We're gonna
Not
get to
sure.
utility pole hearings later.
I'm not mad at Charlie, I'm mad at the process.
Now, we're almost getting to the
I
point
wasn't
of,
thinking, come on,
I
Charlie.
mean, we're gonna have the fire suppression people in the building.
At the same
haven't
time,
even
they're
finished
working
the
the
door.
look.
Yeah, so. We'll have the dog hearing later. I do have a copy, I did not make a copy of all of them. This is the front page for the Route 106
Yes,
quarter.
so I was gonna ask you, could you send it to me electronically? Because I'm not technically on the traffic
Right,
safety committee.
sure, okay.
Do you mind? Thank you.
You're welcome. I did send it out to the Traffic Safety Committee. It's 60 pages long, so I didn't print it out. I will get it up on the website for anybody who's interested. I'll get it sent to you, Kim. I did suggest to the Traffic Safety Committee they meet before the 19th, which is when they would like any comments on this. And if for some reason any of the board members like a printed out copy, we'll do it. I just didn't want to waste the paper without actual request. Talent Bank form from Marge Smith, she's coming in for Council on Aging tonight. Public records request from the Boston Globe, they wanted payroll data, that was sent. Same thing by Open the Books, which was payroll data, and that was sent. Chris Caramonica of Peabody has sent a letter about being able to vote at town meeting via mail-in, and also requested the town establish a committee to plan a wastewater system and treatment plant. He had also then followed up about maybe federal funding for the same project. He had written it back in February, and I had replied about the, our history of wastewater, and that
Yes,
we had looked
we
at
did have one.
back about
20 years ago, my husband was actually on that committee. We lived on Lake Street at the time.
Can we back up just a little?
Yeah.
Why is an individual from PBU worried about
He
voting
owns
by
land,
mail
he
at
owns
town
property.
meeting?
He may not understand how town government works. He wants to somehow participate in the town, Halifax town government. He has property along Hickory, I think it's road off of,
Yeah, I
Anawan
know
and
it
such.
is.
So I think, and when I'm thinking of Hickory, he's probably thinking, well, I can't get something built there without some sort of
Water treatment system.
right.
Yeah.
So he's looking at it. So I'll reply to him again about the wastewater, and that, we had that discussion 20 years ago. There was a lack of interest then.
It was
because
a
it's
huge
very
lack
number.
of
Right.
interest. And again, we're trying to take care, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'll answer. We are trying to take care of the things that we have first before we take on another initiative. I don't see that we have the resources to even attempt that. We can't even fill boards and committees that we have longstanding that are statutory. I don't see us starting a new committee until we can do that.
The other things are that the technology has changed during those 20 years, in
Yes.
that you can now put in smaller systems, you can put on, obviously in tight tanks, whatever, but the Board of Health, for instance, has done great work with the property owners around Mount Ponset Pond and reducing the leakage into the pond from the septic systems that are there. So it's certainly possible to do something. I mean, I don't know his particular property and what might work and what might not, but on that piece, and then on the town meeting, I'm just gonna have to explain to him, you only can vote in the town you live in. And even then, you can't
You
do
gotta-
mail-in
you-
votes
you gotta
unless
be
you do
at
it
the
for the town
meeting.
election, yeah. So, he's still, so I'll bring him up to speed on that, and we'll see what we get back from him. Let's see, we had another public
records.
records request. This was from Gordon Andrews, the younger. He wanted more copies of plans of Amanda Estates. There was confusion about what he had wanted, but he was able to get the copies that he needed. I don't know if the board noticed, but we finally got the double pole that was at the end of our driveway removed.
Yeah.
So, it was funny, I knew there's supposed to be a database of double poles that the utility companies are maintaining, and I knew about it and had periodically checked and never saw it. It seems that it never got entered into the database.
And that's why it lasts.
And that's why it stayed for so long. And then when I started making calls into National Grid and to Verizon, worked out that in fact everything had already been moved off the old pole, and that was just up to Verizon to come in and remove the pole, which they did last week.
Yeah.
So that eyesore is gone. I don't know how many other poles there are, double poles there are in Halifax, but if people have questions, I can follow up with the utility companies on those. Let's see, Ms. Andrews, again, the younger, had complained through an open meeting law complaint about an executive session in March. ZBA received the complaint. I'm hoping they resolved it at last night's meeting. That meeting, it was on the agenda for the meeting. That meeting went very late. I left about 10:30. They had a number of petitions that were taking up a fair amount of time. It was not, 15 minutes for a deck.
Plus, they only meet monthly, and I
Right.
really have said for years, they need to meet more than monthly.
But, so I'm going to check with Alana to make sure that it was dealt with as they should be. We did get a note from the Historic District Commission, just the Hobbs Playground, their approval of the project. Since it's in the Historic District, they need to give the approval.
Hold,
Pardon?
can I just talk about this
Yes, by
weekend?
all means, yes, please.
So this weekend, starting on Friday, anybody who would like to volunteer, and you even get a t-shirt while they last, that says, "I help build Hobbs." So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from, I think it's 8 to 5.
Right, with two shifts, 8
Two
to
different
noon
shifts.
and
You
1
don't have to stay the whole day, but you can go online or sign up. But of course, we would take walk-ons for any kind of help because we are rebuilding hops this weekend. Long awaiting. Yeah, we're very excited. Very, very
And
excited.
it sounds like, Saturday will start a little bit soggy, maybe,
Oh, I
we'll
have to
see.
check. No, I thought it looked
But
good.
Saturday for much of the day will be fine, and
It's supposed to
Sunday.
be 70 degrees.
Right, well,
outside,
we'll
that's
turn
what
from
they're saying.
cloudy to 70, so it's excellent weather to be out there.
Oh yeah, Friday's cloudy 55, Saturday's cloudy 70, and Sunday now it's
Too
showing
warm.
rain 64. So
Yeah, we'll
hopefully
see.
that won't happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get it built in 2 days. Right?
But really, the whole idea of hops, back when it was built in the 1990s, there was a community build, the community came together to build that. We've had a committee that's dedicated, 6 years, 7 years of fundraising efforts and planning efforts, all this time that they've spent, and now sufficient money, we have the contractor, it's all set for this weekend. I'm gonna try and get up here to get some hours in myself, but I encourage everybody here in Halifax, it's one of the 2 ways in April, if you want a way to help make Halifax a better place, that's gonna be one of them. You have the beautification committee having its cleanup day later in
Yes.
the month also, but the first opportunity is
What's
this
that, the
weekend.
26th?
Yes.
And may I just mention that I can't,
27.
I'm too delicate to swing a hammer.
Oh, God.
But you can hand out drinks.
But I can hand out, no, I'm gonna be there. I help, like, I'm not that, like my husband and my boys, they all can swing a hammer and do all that kind of stuff, but I'm just gonna be there.
Wheelbarrow
Even if I
doesn't
have to
need the
move
hammer.
a piece of wood
I don't
or.
think anybody expected you to be out there swinging a hammer.
No, I'm just saying, so if there are people, no, I'm just saying, if there are people at home that feel like they don't have the skills like I don't
Well,
have,
look,
there's things to
they
do.
even need people with rakes.
Yes,
Right.
Or, so.
I can
it's-
rake.
It's, yeah, you can.
and ride my broom. I mean,
Hopefully somebody's organizing all this because having a lot of volunteers
Yes.
isn't necessarily the answer.
no. This is Jonathan Seelig, Adam, Sue Lawless, the core people,
They know how to
Sharon
delegate the
Smith,
people.
the people.
Well, and then you have the crew that coming in from
Yes,
Tilt Play
from-
who
yes,
do these,
they're
this is what they do.
So I
You
wasn't
gotta have
sure
some
how that was
supervision
happening.
there.
I mean, if
Yes.
it's helping out as lugging materials and doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, so they'll
that's-
come size you up and go, you, go get a broom.
So anybody named Manuel can come do some weaving.
You look like you should have a broom.
Why
No,
don't you
it's
stand
gonna be
there?
It's like community raised, community built, and you know, Troy, you helped build the first hop, so
Yeah.
you know what a sense of, no. This,
Back when dinosaurs were over
no,
there.
it was in 1992, and my son was an infant back then, and that's when, and it was the place to be.
It was on
But
the
you
original
had,
committee.
right, and you have a sense of accomplishment. Well, not you can't look at it right now, 'cause-
It's gone.
It took it all down.
but for years you would go,
This
I had a
picture's-
piece in that. Like that
Yeah.
was a part of me.
I moved here in '94. so
Right?
that
It
would've
was the
been-
best place.
missed it, so
Yeah,
by
it was
2
the
years.
best place ever. Anyway,
Jeez, I feel old.
fire suppression system.
Just so the board's aware, we're working with our bond counsel and bond advisors to collect the necessary documents for the bond anticipation note. On the meeting for the 13th, the night of the first town, of the meet, first night of the town meeting, I'll have the documents, at least the plan is to have the documents ready for the board to sign, so things are moving
Okay.
fine there. On the owner's project manager, the board did receive several proposals for owner's project manager. The main criteria, or the most important criteria I had placed in the request for qualifications was past experience with the elementary school. And Vertex, who had done the OPM work for both the roof and the doors, siding, windows project, had sent in a proposal. I have not done interviews or anything like that. I said, this is the first criteria, and I don't see any reason to downgrade Vertex versus any other proposal. It does not mean that any of these other firms couldn't have done the job, but we're already familiar with them, they're familiar with us in the
Project.
building. So I'm recommending to the board that they approve Vertex as the contractor for the OPM work.
I would entertain a motion for that.
I'd be happy to move that.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Silver Lake budget, just, I had seen Liz Dennehy in Plimpton. She had written me about, what they're going through with the assessment and their own budget there. I guess there'd been some interest in seeing where Halifax and where Kingston were, and I guess there may have been a little bit, I don't want to say miscommunication, maybe more lack of communication in the sense of a real strong conduit between the three communities this year about the Silver Lake budget.
There was no meeting where we
Right, well, that's
typically would
it.
have a joint.
And I think a result of this conversation is, next fall, I think before the budget season, whether it's the selectmen, whether it's the finance committees,
Should
whoever.
come together.
Yeah,
We should do that. We haven't done that.
Yeah.
No, normally we would do that, but I
Right.
think it's been a strange
Yeah.
budget season,
So-
for sure.
Let's see, wage and personnel, Claudia Noble-Cotton, who was our sort of civilian member, or not selectman, not finance committee member, resigned from the wage and personnel board a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago.
that's too bad.
Should we make a motion to send a letter of gratitude for her service for the community?
Yeah, we typically do that.
Yeah.
So moved.
Keep, second,
All those in favor?
keep encouraging people to volunteer.
This is a really tough board to fill, and it's a lot of work, and it's
And you take a lot of-
very stressful.
Yeah, and there's a lot of heat.
Yes.
That's who I started out first when I first
Yes.
took on the wage and personnel.
And so then you decided to become a member of the board of selectmen because it was easier.
Well, in a sense it is. You don't incur as much wrath with every decision.
Most of them.
Most of it.
It has taken a bit of my joy away in the last year.
On the Halifax solar proposal for River Street, Bob Grant's going to be in later today. On the possible sale to Division of Fisheries and Wildlife on the Odena Road parcel, Plymouth County has reached out to Fisheries and Wildlife, so I guess they're in communication since they have an interest in the parcel.
Oh, good.
I'm staying in
Moving
touch with
forward.
both parties.
And get that money yet.
DFG won't know whether it has the money for the year we're in now until early May, depending on what other projects are on the line, but if not, they're planning on setting aside the money for fiscal year 2020. The request that we had received a few weeks ago from Partners Engineering.
I thought we had already okayed that.
You did. And then they said, we don't need it. So that's what happened.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
I didn't think you did anyway.
So what they had wanted was put in a very small monitoring well in the back of the fire station project. This is to deal with some contaminated soil, not at the fire station, but over at the plaza.
Yeah.
And they, for whatever reasons, they're saying, well, we don't need this anymore, so that's off. Animal Control Officer recommend appointment of Noreen Callahan for a term to expire on April 30th of 2020.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard back from John Peck about the earth removal permit. He had called to say he'd been in the hospital for more than 2 weeks and has been unable to respond to the board's request for more information. He said he would do so once he leaves the
Oh, he's still in
hospital.
the hospital?
Yeah, still in the hospital.
Yeah.
He
He really
got
banged
out
himself up.
for a couple of days and then ended up back in the hospital.
He pushed it. He came out too soon.
That's too bad.
Revocation hearings, are we there yet? No, not yet, because that's coming up, I believe, at an official time.
Yes, it's coming at 7:45.
Right, so we'll wait for those.
Okay.
7:35 for the revocation
Okay,
hearings.
all right.
Special police officer, so the chief will bring in Michael
Blonkarowski.
Thank you. A couple weeks from now for an interview as a special police
Yep.
officer.
Nice young man.
Marguerite.
How do you pronounce that?
Blonkarowski.
Bakaruski. He's French, huh?
Yeah. Italian.
Town bank form we got for Marguerite Pajol.
Margaret Pajol.
Pajol. Another French for this one.
She is French. She used to be my oldest son's preschool teacher.
Okay. She's interested in serving the Housing Authority and the Affordable Housing Committee. The latter of those is dormant right now. The former may have a vacancy, but we're waiting for the Department of Housing and Community Development to straighten out how people are chosen for that. So
We should see if Margie wants to serve in another
Yeah,
capacity.
I know.
She's really
I
awesome.
will find out.
Yeah, she's great.
And then Carol Kuklas is interested in serving on the Conservation
Oh,
Commission.
that's good.
Pam sent that note up to the commission.
Yep.
Hope's Tavern renovations, we'll have that meeting in a couple weeks to discuss possible work.
We're having it here.
Yes,
Perfect.
here with the Municipal and School Building Committee and Council on
Awesome.
Aging. The mailbox kiosks, I got no answer from my letter to Halifax Post Office, so I'm
Yeah.
going to contact Representative Keating's office. We're having meetings tomorrow about the security camera systems and the key fobs.
Do you mind revocating? Because I think that,
I know, we're going to be upstairs.
Thank you.
Yes. We still haven't actually gotten from Mr. Richard Harrison a copy of his registration, so I'm going to take a visit to that truck and see if it's actually any sign that's properly registered, which means not just having the plate, but having the
Having the
date
sticker and everything,
sticker
the
on there.
sticker
So
on
let's see
it,
what we got. Recycling bins and barrels, I'm still waiting for the highway surveyor and for Susan Johnson to provide some response about the idea of getting the large barrels, which would cost a fair amount of money, but I still would like to respond to the resident who
That's
asked.
75 plus.
Yeah.
Could be more.
On the acceptance of Chapter 258, Section 13, at one point I thought this was going to go to town meeting this spring. What it turns out is the acceptance statute says it has to be on the ballot, and it was too late to get on the ballot for this town meeting, so I'm asking if the board would vote to place it on the ballot for the annual town election next May in 2020. And this is to do with indemnifying town employees and such.
Can that be put on a special if we have a
No, it has to be at the annual town
Yeah,
election.
I'll move that.
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We did get a report from the Board of Health who reported a rat infestation. at
Like real
407
rats, not
real
mice?
Real rats.
Real rats,
Real rats.
yeah.
Real rats?
Yes, at 407 South Street, the Gamble property that we took over.
Yes.
That needs to be eradicated so we don't have a problem, for
Oh,
instance,
yeah, I
with
don't have to
our
come to
butters.
my house.
Right. So I know
Not to sell it anymore.
it's out of the ordinary, but because of, I cannot go to the Finance Committee for a couple of weeks to get any finances, I'm asking the board to declare an emergency now, so that we can contact
That's an emergency.
exterminator, we'll get an estimate, I'll keep the board in the loop, I'll tell the Finance Committee what's going on also, but I need to get that problem solved.
absolutely.
That's critical.
Okay, so do we have a motion to, it's an emergency, there's rats in the
So
house?
under Chapter 44, Section 31, if the board would declare an emergency.
I'll move that we have an emergency at 407 South Street.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're gonna get rid of that mouse.
Hopefully they're not New
Dirty
York.
rat.
Protect the
You dirty
abutters.
rat.
Yeah,
Just go down and just talk to them, they'll just.
They
run
travel
away.
a long distance and they swim
We'll
too.
bring them to a
so,
selectmen's meeting.
I apologize, I should have taken this, I mean, our 7 o'clock isn't happening, just so the boards, to make it public, because it was on the agenda. The grievance hearings for dealing with Mr. Waterman have
right.
been postponed at least probably to May 7th. at
So
this
do we
point.
want to take an adjournment until 7:30? Because
Yeah.
all of our regular work is
Right.
done.
Did you guys want, I had some,
Well, we
wanna
have
do
the road openings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just.
I'll do that. What?
And relayed me a message about the Silver, Kim had relayed me a message about the Silver Lake negotiations. This is to do with the unions. There's one person from the 3 towns, not one person from each of the towns, but one person from the 3 towns that represents 3 towns in those negotiations.
That's interesting.
I don't know whether.
I've always done it.
Right.
But I won't be
But
here.
I won't be here. So she wanted to make sure
likely
that
so.
the board was aware of it, and if the board had any interest, I could pass the word on to Christine Joy, and see, yeah, or say, this time, let someone from Kingston or Clinton handle it.
Yeah, I think last year they actually had Mary McKinnon from the
Right, that's
Finance
what I remember
Committee.
too,
Yeah, so I think that, well, whatever you want to do.
Well,
Did you say Christine Joy?
No, well, Christine Joy, I don't think she did. I believe that
well,
Mary McKinnon did it
yeah,
last
what I
time.
have is that Christine wrote to Joy Blackwood saying, I'd be happy to participate,
okay,
but we
cool.
defer to Kingston or Halifax if they'd like to serve in the
You
negotiations.
know, I think it would be nice to have a voice from Clinton.
Okay.
I would support that Christine
missed
Joy
that
be the negotiation.
I can, if the board would support that, I'll send a note back to my
Do you have a motion?
counterparts.
A motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor? And I'll go through the road
Aye,
things if
aye,
that's
aye.
okay.
And I,
Yeah.
just so the board's aware, we will
Because they
eventually
stuck
go into
together.
contract negotiations later tonight.
Pants
Yes.
them all stuck
I mean,
together.
technically, we could do that right now.
I'm messing.
Let's do
Well,
that.
let's get the.
Let me do the road
stuff.
cuts and then we can, because it
Yeah.
shouldn't be a long negotiation. Okay, so the first road cut is a request from Columbia Gas to do a 4x6 road cut tie and a 4x40 road cut trench at 266 South Street for a new gas service line. The building inspector is okay, they pulled a trench permit. The police department requires 1 detail officer, the highway department is okay, the water is okay, and conservation is okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next one is another request from Columbia Gas. It's for a 4x6 road cut with a 4x145 road cut trench at 2 Carver Street to install a new gas service. And the building inspector, again, okayed with a trench permit. The police department requests 1 detail officer. Highway's okay, water's okay, and conservation is okay.
And on all these cuts, they already have money put aside just in case the
Yes,
road's not
yes, they're
completely
taking the
done
bond.
properly.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
we have a bond.
Okay,
Yep.
we got a bond on it. okay.
yep,
Yeah, we have to blanket bond, I think it's $50,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do I have a motion for that one?
Second. I mean, I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
And the last one is again from Columbia Gas, must be the season, 4x6 road cut tie in a 4x10 road cut trench at 49 Madison Road, again to install a new gas service. We have the building inspector okaying it with a trench permit. The police department is requiring one detail officer. That's interesting. And highway is okay, water's okay, conservation okay, and there's a bond.
So moved.
All those in favor?
All right.
So we're gonna move that we go into executive session in order to complete contract negotiation
Sorry,
discussion.
go ahead.
We're gonna go into executive session now?
Yeah, we may as well, because
Okay.
we have
Yeah,
a half
because
hour.
since we have the
Oh, right, okay,
time
good.
blocked,
Yeah.
we,
Okay, yeah.
And it's to discuss sergeants, patrol officers, highway, firefighters, police chief, town administrator, Andrews versus Halifax patrol officers, grievance on seniority dates, and waterman grievances. And we will return to public. Where we
but there won't be any
But there
announcements
won't be
concerning the
announcements.
executive.
Yes. So do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Tom?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Kim, yes. We'll be back. We'll see you in a half hour.
More or
Oh,
less.
You don't have to come back.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we have a dog hearing. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
that means you too, Abe. You got to wait too.
Sorry, that means you'll get out of here lickety-split. Good evening, we are returning from our executive session, and we will now come into regular session to talk about 7:35. We have a continuation of a hearing for Evergreen Beverage Company and Twin Lakes Liquors and Davis Automotive. Charlie, do you want to give us an update?
So the status right now is Evergreen Twin Lakes is up to date on its payment plan. So I'm recommending to the board that we continue the hearing, I'd say 2 months from now, so whatever the first meeting in June, whatever date that would be, at 7:45.
Is there new ownership in the
No.
process over there?
We keep getting hints of that, but they've not actually brought.
Because I went by the other day and they were closed.
All I can
They
tell you,
were.
I can check, but we've gotten no applications or anything like that.
Yeah, the attorney for him stopped by. He was upstairs talking to Rob a couple weeks ago, and they were just kind of going over like what could be done with the property, they didn't take down everything, so,
The part of the building's collapsing.
yeah.
Oh, on the
On the far
Bellas.
corner.
on the-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, on the far corner.
Is it the Bell, was it
Where the
Bell-
restaurant was.
To the left.
Elena's, I knew it was a
Elena's.
woman's name. Elena's, yes.
So the board would vote to continue the hearing for 2 months to the first meeting in June at 7:45.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then unfortunately for Davis Automotive, they are not up to date on their payment plan. They've not made any payments for the last 2 months. I'm recommending revocation of their flammable storage and also their Class 2. But I also, given what our past history has been, recommend that at the same time that the hearing continue for 2 weeks until the meeting on April 23rd. I believe something like,
I think you have a 10.
It's a good time, 7:45.
Well, we are at, the last appointment is at 8:30, so it would be 8:45.
we can do that.
So 8:45
On the
would be the
23rd.
hearing for Davis Automotive.
But in the meantime, I'll send the revocation notice to the board approves it. Given past, what's happened in the past, simply they'll make a
8:35.
payment sufficient to catch up and the board can rescind its previous vote. But
So
for
moved.
now,
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
thank you.
So we can't start our next hearing for 5 more minutes.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have talked more.
No, that's okay, Charlie.
Look at me.
Let me think if there was anything else. Can I just look at your notes? Because there might have been
Sure.
one other thing that I can, and you can play the music
What music?
from Jeopardy.
Jeopardy?
Troy. No, there was actually something that kind of caught my interest. That I did wanna,
Did we discuss the security cameras to keep,
Yeah,
Just
there's
the
a
fact that we're having meetings tomorrow, there's one at 2:30 on the security cameras and one at 3:30 on the key fobs.
Okay, oh, I do have something that we can talk about briefly, because it's kind of come up at a finance committee meeting, and, as you know, we talk a lot at at the recycling abatements and, revenues at that, at the recycling center are declining, and also revenues from recyclables are declining. And I think that after town meeting, a committee needs to be formed to look at our revenues that we're taking in, and to really take a strong look at what services we would continue to provide when it comes to trash pickup.
You talking about revitalizing or the solid waste committee?
Yes, because it really needs to look at it. I mean, there's a lot of communities that don't actually provide a service, because they just can't find that they can afford it. We've been using recycling fees to sort of subsidize that end of, so the users are actually paying for the service, but we're receiving so many abatements that our revenue numbers it's tipping the other way. And I know that when it comes to the finance committee, when we do capital planning, we look at those revenues, and that's how we plan for big pieces of equipment. And in the notes, we talked a little bit about, I know that we were gonna go for a grant for those barrels, but if those barrels do not come through on a grant, certainly that's
We should
another
have talked
expense.
to,
So
Kathy Lenatra.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we create, I don't know if it's the solid waste committee, if we do it. I think it's hard to get volunteers, as I talked about earlier. It's hard to get new people involved, that it may be somebody from the finance committee, somebody from the board of selectmen, and certainly Steve
from
would
highway.
serve, as the
Well,
person
somebody from
responsible.
recycling as well.
And I would suggest that the Sue be involved, but I think it just needs to be a conversation and really looked at to see what are the things that we feel that we can afford to provide. And I know that we typically look at the recycling fee every year, but again, every year that income is being declined.
Yeah, well, we're paying a great deal of money out to get rid of material now
Yes.
than we were taking in. There's certain materials,
Yeah.
cardboard and stuff that not doing that much on.
And coupled with, again, more abatements, we certainly have seen the decline in income. So again, I'm not saying that it's not a service that you should provide, but just be aware that there are many communities that come to the conclusion that they cannot provide that service, and that's something they have private haulers that handle recycling. I know.
And the other thing's going to be, if we get out of the business,
Yes,
how are we going to handle bulky waste? How are we going to handle
Right.
hazardous waste?
Yes.
Are we going to, how we're going to handle those things? Because obviously we don't want people dumping in the woods.
right. And if you go up on the recycling fee in order to accommodate the lack of income, you'll have more people
Just
going to a
discarding
private
this stuff.
hauler because, it's just the simplest thing.
Right.
And again, the recycling fee also helps with people who want to use the recycling center, and, it's a lot.
Your
And I
time
just
is
we have 5 more minutes, unless you want to sing.
Oh,
No, I just think it's important.
What we can do is put it on the agenda for the 28th of May
Yes,
as a starting point. When you do the reorganization, we can have it on the agenda and maybe set a date in June for a meeting and invite anybody who's interested to talk about it and start as a starting point.
If we in fact form a committee, can non-residents serve on the committee?
Meanwhile,
Yeah, it's an ad hoc by the board.
That's why.
Meanwhile, is there any
Okay,
chance that we can reach out to other communities and see what they're doing
Hey, come on
as
by.
far as the hazardous waste and the bulky waste, what they're doing with it?
Sure.
That way we have something, when we discuss it, we'll have some information as to what's going on in other towns.
yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Sure.
So we still got a couple more minutes, I know.
Noreen, we appointed you.
Reappointed.
Yeah,
Surprise.
I know. Well, it was pretty easy because you do such a great job.
Till 2029, a 10-year term.
Actually, it was open-ended.
No, was it?
If you miss the meeting, you get appointed to stuff. That's how it works.
Yes, you're also serving on the recycling discussion.
Another surprise.
Because you like to talk trash. Nope.
And this weekend, we got a rake that's suited for you to rake over at the Pops Playground.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
No, thank you for your service. You do an excellent job, and seriously, I'm really going to miss you. I've really enjoyed working with you. May 18th. Yeah, so I'm gonna miss everybody, but I really, some of my funniest
sad
memories
about
were
you.
spent with Noreen Callahan.
Listening to dogs.
Or I might have been climbing berms.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, so, yeah, we've had some pretty
Have you
amazing
been able
memories.
to transfer all that?
I'm still working on it. I have 314 videos that I'm trying to transfer from my phone. Caesar had given me a little thing that he-
Thumb drive.
thumb drive that attaches, but the files are so big, it's taking a long time, and then my battery goes dead. So
And I suspect the port is the same port that you use to
Charge my
it.
phone.
Yes, right.
So,
Do you have a SD chip in it?
no, I don't think so. I don't know, but we'll get it done. I just want the town to
Yeah.
have those particular records from that case.
You can't take it down to Walmart or someplace and have them take the chip out and run it that way?
I don't know, I mean, I
If
think
you
it has
have
all of
to.
my own personal photos on it, unless you want to see all my vacation.
Again?
No, that would take too much time.
Yeah, so I have a folder specifically for that case, and so I think it's important that the town retain that. I've already turned over all my records when it came to that investigation, so.
We've extended the time.
We have one more minute. We have to be I'm sorry. So we can start by having anybody, so we're gonna open the hearing. We have a dog hearing, and anybody that is gonna speak will need to stand at this time and give your name, and that includes the owner of the dog. Yep, thank you. And give your name, and any witnesses as well. To PM.
And Brian's here.
Who's our animal inspector?
There we go, officer.
And Pam, there are a couple people in the back.
Okay.
Thomas Wilson?
Okay.
Destiny Newell?
And I'm sorry?
Destiny Newell?
Again, I'm sorry.
How do you spell your last name?
Destiny.
Destiny, okay.
And it's also Ted Bennett.
Okay, we
Ted
got
Bennett.
off speed. Okay, did I get everybody? Okay, so, if you guys could all raise your right hand, and I'd like to say I do at the end, okay? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during these proceedings with the selectmen?
I do.
All right, we got everybody. Okay.
Please be seated. So before we begin, I just wanted to ask Officer McDonald if he could please start with his testimony of what happened with this.
But can just, so for the folks who aren't used to public hearings, all the conversation is not between yourselves. It's to the board. You certainly have every right to speak during the hearing, but you're speaking to the board, not to another member of the audience. If someone has a question, they should ask the board that question, and the board will attempt to get an answer. But, one person at one time, please.
Before you begin, I just saw Mel Conroy just came in. Mel, are you planning on testifying or offering any information in this hearing?
Yes, I am.
Could you please stand? And it's Mel Conroy.
Okay, yeah. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during these proceedings with the selectmen?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you,
great,
Mel.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Officer McDonald.
No problem.
If you could just please explain what happened during this incident.
Okay, on March 16th, right just past 8 o'clock, I was in my cruiser at Lindy's parking lot, facing the N1 Drive. I look up, I see a gentleman in brown jacket, just walking his dog, heading down the N1 Drive. Nothing ordinary. Then I hear a dog barking. Didn't really think anything of it. Kind of got louder and closer, so I looked over to my right. And that's when I saw the dog running down the stairs to the gate. It squeezes right through the gate. Ran over to the little dog, kind of got in his face, just really started barking at it. And then I just grabbed it, latched onto the dog, and just started swinging like a rag doll. That time I ran out of my cruiser, ran over. That's when Mr. Wilson was running down his stairs and running to the gate. Mr. Wilson opened the gate, ran over, grabbed his dog off, brought his dog back inside. We noticed the injuries on his dog. That's when Sergeant Ben arrived, and his wife later came by, moments later, they picked up the dog and brought the dog to the animal hospital.
Okay, thank you, officer. Sergeant Benner, do you have anything more to offer?
I showed up after the fact, when it happened, when I did show up, Wilson.
Look at the back. Next
The
picture.
dog right there.
Next picture.
Injured into the back left quarter of the dog. That's really about it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to turn to the dog owners. Thank you for being here. And who's going to speak first? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's awful.
My name is Joseph Patel. On March 16, 2019, approximately 8:08, I was coming on my return trip from Chestnut Road to Route 36, and I passed in front of the liquor store. I passed behind the police cruiser, and because I saw that the car was the officers preparing to move, and to be safe, I'm going to take the back. And by the time when I reached the rear back tire of the police cruiser, I could hear the sound of a dog running down the stairway of the upstairs apartment at 134 and 1. I think it's on the street out there, I'm sorry. And the dog came through the gate. I could see the dog's pushing its way through the right bottom corner of the gate and pushing its way out. And he came towards my dog. And he grabbed my poor dog from the back like a rag doll and started shaking. And he inflicted quite a few puncture wounds and a lot of lacerations.
We've seen the pictures, it's pretty gruesome.
And also, they also discovered at the hospital that my dog had been also bitten on the around the neck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And so could you please continue, so as, who broke up the dog?
I tried on my own, tried to kick the dog, but I couldn't do it. Mr. Wilson came down and he picked up the dog almost at the same time that the officer was preparing to come to my rescue. And he pulled the dog away, and the police officer was very helpful in offering a ride to the local DCA in Bridgewater, but we allowed him to go to the one in Weymouth. I called my wife for a ride, but he had offered to give me a ride.
And how is the dog doing now?
She's doing a little bit better.
And I would imagine that you accumulated a large amount of veterinarian
yes, we have
bills.
accumulated an amount. $4,643.38.
And that's to date?
Up to date, yes.
Thank you, sir. You may see it. Thank you. Noreen?
I came after the fact, and I discovered that this was not the first offense. We have had an issue with the dog in January of 2017.
Yes, I have a copy of that
Okay.
record and that dog hearing.
And, part of the conditions from the board was to make sure the dog was on a leash at all time. He was giving a copy of the leash law. He was required to have his dog licensed and secured, vaccinated at all times. He failed to do that. So he was issued a citation that evening for $110 for being vicious, a dog being vicious, second offense, and no license again.
And the dog did not have its inoculation?
No, it did not.
I have record that the rabies expired on 3/2/17.
I believe it was June of
Yes,
17.
yes, that's what I just said, yeah. And so, did your dog have to go through special treatment because of the lack of rabies?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you,
He
sir.
had to get one of those rabies boosters because she had one in the beginning of March, a regular one, but at the hospital they decided to give her a booster.
Okay, thank you,
Can I
sir.
clarify?
Sure.
Actually, she was due to have her rabies shot next year, and they just boosted her up. But I also want to note that during the 2 weeks that we had her at home, where she couldn't go out except for on a leash or whatever, she had to wear a cone. It was very difficult for her. She didn't eat much. She lost a lot of weight, and she had to go back because she caught an infection. So they had to treat her for the infection.
So does that $4,000 include
That
the
includes
inspection?
that.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Wilson? Hi. Could you just give me your account of the
Well,
day?
yeah, but first things first, the dog does have its rabies vaccination. It's up to date.
Now it is, but it
Oh, it's
wasn't
been
back.
up to date. This is old.
Okay, so when did you have your dog inoculated?
I don't really have great vision. I can't. I got, oh, I have a piece
Do you
of,
have the Halifax
I got the
license?
piece of paper. I do not have the license yet. I'm disabled and I didn't have the money this year to get the license. I'm waiting on disability to give them. And you take, yeah, thank you. And then hit this too, if you want me to get them. This is the key tag I took off his collar.
Noreen, if you want also, I can make copies of those.
And I just want to say right away that I'm a dog lover and I'm very sorry that all this happened. What happened that night was my girlfriend doesn't exactly know, Rufus's backstory. I've had him his whole life. I've only been with Destiny in about 2 years, and she doesn't understand, that he's dog aggressive, and when there's a dog around, you can't let him out. He was attacked when he was 8 months old. I have all the, vet bills from that, and he's been dog aggressive ever since. This winter, a plow truck destroyed my gate, and I've been begging my landlord to fix the gate. He now has fixed the gate because something happened. So now he fixed the gate. The gate's fixed. I have photos of the fixed gate. It wasn't something that I obviously didn't want to happen. I have talked to this gentleman before, and and in the past, and I said to him, hey, our dogs really don't get along. If you could take a different route to avoid anything happening, that'd be awesome. My gate's messed up. He didn't ever, he ignored my not warning, I don't know what word to use, but I tried to avoid this happening. I was taking Rufus out while the gate's been fixed on a leash, but when Destiny walked out that night, she didn't notice that he snuck out behind her, and he got through the gate and he attacked his dog. I am very sorry for this. I want the record to show that I'm extremely sorry for what happened to her dog. I would never want that to happen. When she showed up, I asked the gentleman over and over again, I offered him a ride to the vet. I told him that I would obviously pay the vet bills and to let me know, and if I could get him there right away, I would have. He wouldn't even talk to me. He would not respond to me the whole time until his wife showed up, and then his wife screamed, your dog's effing dead, your dog's effing dead, I'm gonna kill your effing dog.
Well, you
To
could
me.
imagine that it's
No,
pretty emotional.
I understand that.
Yes.
But before she pulled up, and you can ask the officer here, I don't know his name, you can ask him, before she pulled up, I was terribly polite to this gentleman. I expressed my apologies over and over again, and I asked him time and time again if I could help him get to the vet or do anything for him. I went upstairs, I got his dog a towel, I tried to hold it on his dog, but his dog was obviously apprehensive of being touched by anybody because it had just been bit.
Sure.
And, I'm very sorry this happened. It wasn't intentional on my part at all. I have let my landlord know time and time again how important that gate is for my dog. And now it is fixed, but, that doesn't make it okay what happened. I'm just letting you know that now it is fixed, and I have pictures of it if you would like to see. That it's.
Couple of things, Mr. Wilson. We did hold a hearing back in 2017, and of
I
which
did
you
want,
did
actually,
not.
I'm glad you said something.
You did not attend that
I
hearing.
never even got a notice for that hearing. I didn't get, Maureen didn't bring me a piece of paperwork saying my dog had to be on a leash at all times.
That was a
nobody-
letter. That was a
I
letter
didn't
that
get
sent
any of
from
that
this
information.
office. That was
I
a
got none
letter
of that information. I
sent to
didn't-
Mr. Thomas Wilson at 134 Home
I
Street.
understand that, ma'am, but I did not get it, because if I did get it, I'd be at the hearing, just like I am today.
No, I'm sorry,
Why don't you
sir.
let her
Not
complete?
only did you not attend the hearing, of which we sent a separate letter saying we are having a hearing. But this letter was sent to you after the hearing when you did not come to the hearing, and we held the hearing. And based on our findings, we sent you this letter saying these are the requirements for your dog.
I understand, but I have a terrible disconnect with my
Okay.
my landlord downstairs.
This
I don't
is
have
not-
a mailbox.
Okay.
So it doesn't come to, it goes into the store, and the guy downstairs, he can hardly even read the names. He doesn't give me my.
Were you
I've had-
aware that your dog had bitten another dog back in
He didn't
2017?
actually bite the other dog. He scratched Mel's dog right here. He scratched him when he came out of the fence and his wife was out there. He scratched his dog, and it even said in the vet report that it was a scratch. And they contacted me, and then I didn't hear another thing from them. I was waiting for them to contact me and tell me how much the vet bill was and how I could help, and Mel never contacted me. I don't know what choice they made to not contact me ever again. But I'm not like a scary person. I'm not, if he could knock on my door and talk to me about it, I would have been more than happy to help out. My dog was attacked when he was 8 months old. This is why he's dog aggressive. I have taken precautions to make sure my dog doesn't get out, but my fence was ruined this winter, and I asked my landlord over and over again to fix it, and now he fixes it after something happens.
Mr. Wilson, your dog has, as you have admitted, exhibited aggressive behavior toward dogs.
Towards dogs.
Yes. And regardless if you received this letter or not, you knew that your dog had scratched or bit another dog, and you knew that the town had been involved because Noreen had
I
interviewed
didn't know
you.
the town was involved. I remember talking to Mel and his wife, but Maureen never stopped by my house and said anything about what happened with Mel's dog.
Regardless of that, you know that your dog is an aggressive dog.
Oh, I'm not denying that my dog is aggressive towards other
And
dogs.
if your dog had already attacked another dog, and I understand that you're saying you take all of the precautions that you can, the truth of the matter is the dog got loose and created a terrible wound
I'm
on this
not
other
denying
dog.
it. I
Yes.
understand.
So what have you done? Because you probably, after that initial bite, what have you done? Have you looked at dog training to try to get the dog over its aggression? I mean, obviously, you're saying that you can't afford the $10 license fee. I mean, can you really
I'm sorry,
take care of the
my
dog?
leg's messed up.
You may sit, you don't have to stand.
Okay. I have not taken him to a dog training course as of yet because I haven't been able to afford it. I've been out of work since my motorcycle accident, and dog training is very expensive. I will look into it a little bit further and
But
try
if
to
you-
borrow the money to get it done
But
if I
this is
need
the
to.
thing, if you can't take care of your dog, then you don't have the means to take care
Well,
of
I do take care of, I take care
No,
of my
but
dog.
meaning you know the dog is
I will get it-
aggressive,
I will
and you
get
don't,
it to a class.
if you can't afford to even license the dog.
I will get it licensed tomorrow.
You had 2 years with a young lady living with you to express how this dog acted around other animals. She should have known or looked for it. Do you have anything in writing from the owner of the building saying that the fence was broken and they wanted to try to fix it? Do you have any evidence at all?
The officer right there saw him squeeze through the fence in the
That's not the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, did you get anything, did you write to the owner of the building? Did you get anything in writing from him saying that you needed to have the
I
door
can literally
fixed?
call the owner right now. And he can tell you that-
Was he aware that the dog was
Yes.
vicious and changes and he still
Yes.
did it? And you didn't push the issue?
I did, over and over
We
again.
tried to have him at least drawn up saying that he had to fix everything.
Did you know the dog was vicious and aggressive against other dogs?
Yes, but it was late at night and I didn't know he had gotten out behind me. I stepped out on the porch to smoke a cigarette and he ran out right behind me. And then he ran down the stairs and that's when I chased after him. And I saw the other dog.
She was down there first, the officer left that out. She was down there first, but
I
she didn't know what to do.
When I got
Officer McDonald?
When I got to the dog, I was trying to have him pick up his dog, 'cause he has a really tiny dog.
He's a tiny
Our dog's
dog.
huge. And then when I got down there, it was basically like, it was really scary for me, you know what I mean? I had my dog and
imagine.
this little dog, and then the officer had a taser pointed out, so I didn't know how to get in the middle of that to separate them. And that's when Tom came running downstairs and grabbed my dog and brought him upstairs. Rufus still, if that dog was a little tiny dog, he probably doesn't even realize it was a dog. You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter.
He
The
goes
dog,
after squirrels
the
and
dog, it doesn't matter. The damage that dog did, and
Ma'am, we're
even
not
after,
disputing- we're not disputing
no, I
that.
understand that, but what I'm saying to you is, you know that you have an aggressive dog. You can't afford to get training for the dog, but you could at least YouTube it and maybe work with the dog on your own to try to figure it out.
His
And
dog
if you
aggression
can't
came from
handle the
being a
dog,
cat.
if you can't handle a dog's behavior that's aggressive, then you shouldn't have that dog. It is not fair to the dog to not be taught not to do that. It's not fair to their dog that because somebody wasn't paying attention, the dog got loose after it had already exhibited that behavior before. The dog had already scratched or nipped at another dog. And so that's a pattern, and that pattern didn't get addressed. And you're saying that you didn't get 2 letters, but you knew it happened. You knew it happened. And so here we sit here, what do we do with this very aggressive dog that the owner doesn't have the
Dog aggressive
means?
dog.
It's a dog, it's an aggressive dog.
It's not aggressive towards humans, but by any means.
I'm gonna, Mel?
If I may add, I did approach Tom after the incident to try and follow up on rabies vaccination. At the time, he wasn't able to provide it, so we had to go to VCA that evening. So I had followed up with him at another day. When I went to his door, the dog was extremely aggressive when I knocked on the door. So the dog is an aggressive dog. I understand that there are dog-aggressive dogs, there are people-aggressive dogs, there are lots of aggressive dogs. The dog in itself is aggressive.
I
And there
guarantee
is
you-
nothing wrong with an aggressive dog, provided that the owner of the dog provides an environment that the dog can flourish. That has not been my experience with this dog.
Thank you, Mel, because it's our charge to keep both the humans and the dogs of this community safe.
I'd like to state that my dog is almost 8 years old. And in the 8 years that he's been alive, he's only had 2 occasions where something has happened. One was a scratch where he scratched Mel's dog, and the other was, unfortunately, when this happened.
A mauling. Mel?
If I may add, the only reason my dog was only scratched was my wife was able to corral my dog, lift the dog up, and the dog in question was able to get at my dog by jumping at my wife and through my wife to get to my dog.
And let's establish that this small
Which
dog
his
was
dog was not
mauled.
bit.
It
His
was
dog
not
was
bit,
not-
it was
Only
mauled.
because it was being held.
But you can't say that without...
Do you want to see the pictures of
No,
this dog?
I'm just saying, he can't say that my dog was split. I've seen the pictures.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a mauling.
Nancy took to Facebook to talk about all of this,
Just
and
leave that alone. Just leave that alone. Ma'am, the bottom line is, I am very sorry that this happened, and I will take more precautions with my animal to make sure this does not happen again. I have already grilled my landlord to get the gate fixed. It's fixed. I'm going even further, and I'm going to pay to get the whole side of my gate turned vinyl, so he can't even see people or dogs walking by. I will take my dog to animal training courses, and I will...
How are you
I'll
going
keep
to do
him
that
muzzled
when
as
you
long
don't
as he's
have,
outside.
how are you going to do that when you don't have the means to even come up with the money to license the
I would have to
dog?
borrow from her. I'll borrow from my girlfriend and get it done until my disability comes in. I've had a dog for 8 years. I've been taking care of him for 8 years. He has a 5-year-old little girl that depends on him being there. She's known him since she was a baby. I'm gonna take the precautions necessary to get it done. I've already said countless times that I'm willing to pay the medical bills. I'm obviously not gonna be able to pay them all at once, but I'm willing to chip away at it if I can. I've said that. I'm not coming in here, trying to say that I'm not at fault. I know that I'm at fault, and I'm sorry for this. If I could have been at the other hearing, I would have been. I did not get the letter.
Okay.
I also didn't get the letter about the leash. It doesn't hurt for Maureen if...
Noreen.
No, what's her name?
Noreen.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Noreen's not a very common name.
You can
Maureen.
sit if please sit. It's okay. You can still talk, but you don't have to stand.
I'm shaking because...
No, that's fine. but you can stay seated. So I appreciate your words, and I'm gonna move on to the dog owner that was injured for a moment, okay?
Go ahead.
May I speak?
Yes.
I have to add one other encounter with this dog that was reported to the other animal control officer. And if I'm not mistaken, he was even at the very beginning of 2016. This dog came through the gate because at the time they only had one top latch on the gate. And I was in front, on the sidewalk, in front of the entrance to the playground across the street on 36.
Yes.
And I was just before reaching the stop sign of N1, and the dog came bolting towards me. And at the time, I had one of those pepper sprays, and I was ready to defend my dog. And I heard Mr. Wilson say, don't do it. And I didn't do it. And the dog came maybe within 5 feet of me. In other words, and as a result of that encounter, I reported to the animal control officer. A second latch, a lousy second latch, was installed on the bottom of the gate. That doesn't quite reach the post, the adjoining post.
And not that you should be expected to, but my question for you is, Mr. Wilson alluded to the fact that he asked you not to walk by his house?
No. As a matter of fact, when the dog was down, first of all, he never told me that. I always was on the other opposite side of the road.
Okay.
And if he saw me coming close to his chain link fence, just past his gate, it was because I am a volunteer for the Halifax Beautification Committee, and I pick up some debris and I dispose of with my trash. That's the only reason that I did. There was some trash coming out of the people buying items at the store.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can I speak?
Yes.
I'd like to show you 2 pictures. This one was about 5 days after the incident. I circled this. This is the way the gate always looked for the last, I don't know how many years. And this was on March the 23rd when somebody claimed that they had completely fixed this gate. You can see it is a little bit further over, but the latch wasn't even locked. And that dog was...
All right, so since we're showing pictures,
One second, I'm not finished.
Sure.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. We walk by this property a lot, but like my husband said, we try to walk away from...
If you could just wait, she's...
Oh, I'm just dropping it off so you can see it.
You can, no, you can finish speaking.
I don't want to be anywhere near.
No, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Because I'm a bad person? Like, what?
Excuse
Sir,
me.
please.
Excuse me, that's enough.
That told me to
Please.
call for.
Please.
Don't stop.
Stop what? I
Keep
didn't
it
even...
down, just listen.
She's the person you should be telling what to
I'm
stop.
telling you.
Jesus. Be anywhere near.
I'm sorry, that was intimidating to me.
No, I understand. I understand.
Also, I will
I
admit to
understand.
swearing when I got there, absolutely. The minute I saw my dog, I lost it. And I did say, your
I'm
dog
sure.
is dead, I'm gonna kill your
I'm
dog.
sure
What
you
I meant
did.
by that was, I wanted it euthanized. It didn't come out that way because I
I'm
was
sure
so
that's what you
frustrated.
meant. I'm sure that's what you
I'm gonna get back to the
meant.
fence. When we walked by that property, and we used to walk by that pretty much every single day, either it was him and me, or him alone, or me alone. I haven't been by there yet, not once with my dog since. I'm afraid, scared stiff to go there.
I'm
And
sure
it's the
you are.
only entrance I have to be able to go out on the 36, and he walks all the time. People know him from the dog, they know him from running, and we just can't even go by there. We drive by there because it's an entrance to our home. I mean, I have no other option. I could go through Chestnut, I suppose, but I can't walk my dog down 36.
But the dog is not normally out there
The dog,
unattended.
and this is another thing.
Is that
He
true?
claims- I haven't seen the dog since this incident.
No, but prior to that, was the dog in
was out
the,
there all the time.
oh, just hanging out in the yard
Just hanging out.
unattended?
So no matter
Okay.
what he says,
No, it was-
that is a lie. Because I've walked the dog myself by there with that dog, and he barks at us every single time we walk by. And my dog is leash aggressive. She barks crazy when she's on the leash.
Okay.
Will you take a moment to let things cool down?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Well, I'll take a deep breath. I'm going to come back to you next. And I know you have to, are you still staying for another minute?
I'll stay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Noreen,
Yes.
did you have any interactions with the dog after this bite?
No.
You have not?
I have not even seen the dog.
Why?
Since I've never seen the dog every time I've driven by in, let's say, the last 6 months.
Okay, because typically, okay.
Keep
So-
them inside.
So,
Excuse me.
okay. So,
I'm sorry, it's just felt nice
Yeah,
for somebody
yeah,
to say.
you'll get your
confirm what I've been
opportunity.
saying. I'm sorry.
and your phone went down.
Yeah, it just shut. Whenever you want to look at the pictures, I'll just show you. Would you like to look at them?
Yeah, I'll look at it quickly if you don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
quickly, okay.
Yeah. And then I need to finish asking.
This is the gate now. You can scroll to the right. There's a few different photos from further away. You can see the new dirt, fresh concrete. The pole's been totally replaced. The whole entire fence has been replaced. The gate on the opposite side, all brand new.
Okay.
Solid Fence Company came and did it, and I'm gonna personally pay to have the whole corner of the fence near the street turned white vinyl so he can't even see through it.
Okay, so why don't you have a seat for another minute, if you don't mind? Okay, so typically, and I'm gonna get to you, Brian, because you're the animal inspector, but typically when there's a dog bite, and then the animal control officer would go to the property to interview and to spend a little bit time with the dog, and the animal inspector would also go because the dog needs to be quarantined for 10 days. Did you both have, did you have the opportunity to do that?
It was separate times. It's 8 o'clock at night. Mr. Wilson came outside. The dog was already inside. This was well after the incident. So I didn't have cause to see the dog.
Okay.
We let Mr. Wilson know that the animal inspector will be by to quarantine the dog.
Okay.
The cooperation factor is not the greatest, especially when tensions were very high.
Yes, I would imagine that. And I
so-
think that Officer McDonald had shared that with me.
Right, so it's difficult to get your point across as far as that goes. Anytime I've had dealings with Ms. Wilson, he's very forward, and he wants to let his position be known as opposed to stopping and listening to what is being said. So we have an issue with that.
I'm sorry, Officer McDonald, would you concur with that conclusion?
Yes.
Thank you. Sergeant Benner, would you conclude with that?
Yes, and there was automatically statements made that the dog was not going to be taken from Mr. Wilson.
What would anybody say if somebody was starting to take the dog?
The
They'd
threat
say
was-
that,
They weren't
no, you're
threatening
not.
to do
We
That's-
never said that we were going to take the dog.
Oh, somebody, honestly, and he can concur, I'm sorry, I still don't know your name.
Officer McDonald.
Officer McDonald, I was, completely calm and apologetic and everything until she pulled up and said that she was gonna kill my fucking dog. I'm sorry for swearing, but that's what she said. And until that happened, everything was fine. I wasn't saying anything, but once she said that, it sprung in my mind that they were gonna try to come in and take my dog. So I shut my gate and I said, nobody's taking my dog. That's all that happened. I stood in front of my gate and waited for them to tell me to go inside.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Kling, who's our animal inspector, could you please explain to us if you were able to spend some time with Rufus at all?
Twice, 2 occasions. I had to implement the quarantine and then release him from quarantine.
And what was your experience with the dog?
I showed up with 2 police officers, I forget the names, both occasions. We went up to the deck, it's a second floor apartment. After some knocking and some discussions, Mr. Wilson and the dog came out, went down the stairs, I observed the dog, and implemented the quarantine. I did observe that this is a very powerful dog, very strong dog, and Mr. Wilson was having some difficulty containing him on a leash, and that the collar wasn't really appropriate. Dog could slip out of the collar.
Mr. Wilson, I would imagine you alluded to some injury. Is it hard for you to, with such a powerful dog?
He's 98 pounds and he's really strong. And when he wants to meet somebody new, he just wants to drag me towards that person. But I mean, he just walked right by the animal inspector and then walked right back upstairs. He does have a harness. I couldn't find it that day when the animal inspector came. And I don't walk him too much anymore. He gets walked by my girlfriend and sometimes, but my leg is totally destroyed. So
Right, because I would imagine that it's
when
really
coming
hard for you to
downstairs
manage
with
it.
him pulling me, it's really scary.
But if you know that your dog has the ability to get loose, then I would hope
did-
that you would put a collar on it that would make sure that that dog would not be getting loose.
Well, that was just his house collar that he wears. He usually
Yes,
wears a harness
but
when he
these are
goes
the things
outside.
that I want you to pay attention to.
I understand that. I
You-
just said that
if-
I couldn't find a harness when the animals.
No, I understand, but you take the time to find the harness because you are in charge of keeping your dog secure so that no one in the town or any animals in the town are hurt. And you need to really understand that.
I do
So you
now.
can, sir, if you understood it, you would make sure that there was a proper collar on that dog when you brought it outside to meet a stranger.
It was just a normal collar.
I know, but if it was
tight.
loose and
It
it was,
was tight
if
to
the animal inspector
two
who's,
fingers.
if the animal inspector who is an expert in this field felt that the collar was not substantial enough to keep the dog from being loose, then you need to pay attention to that.
I'll make sure his harness is on every time he leaves the house.
Yeah. Tom, do you have anything to say?
Say?
I don't know how much
I want you to follow through with it. You
I'm
can
going-
say it,
I'm going
but I
to.
don't have the
You don't
confidence
know.
that you would follow
You
through
don't
with
know my
it.
character. Why don't you have the confidence that I'd follow through with it?
Because you let a dog who already bit
I did
a
not
dog
the
let
dog. He
loose.
snuck by my girlfriend and got out. I was in the house.
But you let a dog who showed aggression toward other dogs and you didn't do anything about it by trying to train the dog not to be so aggressive. I'm sorry. Tom, do you have anything to offer?
A lot's already been said, so it's hard to follow up, other than the fact that it appears you don't have control of the dog at all times. And that's an issue for me. If you, clearly the gate was awry, you knew it was awry, your landlord wasn't cooperating, you can't leave it there. You can't leave it there. You have to follow up with something else. You have to do whatever you have to do to your landlord, file an action against them or whatever. I don't know what your terms of your lease agreement were, and I don't care to know at this point. But what's obvious now is that you don't at all times have control of the dog. I personally don't have confidence that you're going to have control of this dog at all times, based on what I've been hearing. That's a big concern for me. We can't let people be walking down the street unaware. I mean, some people are at least aware, but there's other people who will never be aware. That's a huge problem. I don't see an easy fix to this.
Noreen, do you have any recommendations?
I mean, as a responsible dog owner, if you knew that your gate was unsecure, if my gate fell down, you would sure walk that line. You would put barricades up. You would put a zip line. You would do everything to keep your dog contained.
Put a piece of chain in the wall.
Exactly. Board, whatever, you know, whatever makeshift thing you could do to make your dog safe and other dogs safe. I didn't see any of that. None of it. So, I think it was just left up to the landlord. If he doesn't fix it, oh well, you know, and God forbid it gets out.
If I may add, and still sitting in my yard next to the gate is a large wooden pallet. When my dog did go outside with me watching him, I would put the pallet in front of the gate. The pallet's still sitting there. I wasn't planning on him going outside. We had just, as the officer said, we had just got home from the store. And we were going inside, and he snuck out behind my girlfriend. I wasn't planning on him being outside, or I would have had the pallet blocking the gate.
But clearly that can happen. That pallet should have been up when you got home, just in case the dog got out.
No, it shouldn't have. It should have been that he had him on leash, because that's what the letter we sent to him said, that he,
But he was on leash at that time.
anytime the dog's outside.
But once again, he snuck out behind my girlfriend. He wasn't a planned.
Well, you just said you were going into the house.
I was-
Because you
the
were
dog
just
was
doing
going
grocery,
into the house.
you delivering grocery to your house, you're
Yeah.
going into the house. Was your girlfriend going back out the door
She was
again?
going.
She was going out to
wasn't
get
with
a
me.
cigarette, that's what
She
she
was going
said.
out to have a cigarette. She wasn't with me. Me and my friend Richie had went shopping. We came in the house, and she was going out to have a cigarette, and he snuck out behind her. It wasn't a planned, time for him to go outside. I usually take him outside, accordingly, on a leash with the pallet in front of the thing. I was taking precautions because the gate was fixed. Without even the dog bite situation, another thing I was worried about is him getting hit by a car. So I was taking precautions to keep the gate secure. This is just a happenstance where he snuck out the gate, The gate wasn't blocked, it was just a really bad situation, and I'm sorry for that. And I've said that repeatedly. I will take the steps that I need to take from now on. I will keep him muzzled when he goes outside. I will get a harness for him, it'll stay leashed. And also, I will enroll him into dog training courses if I need to.
Well, you have to forgive me, but based on what the information that you've given us today, you said you didn't have the $10 to get the rabies shot.
I will get all the money from
All
my
the stuff.
girlfriend.
Well, you had the opportunity before to get the $10 to pay for the license.
Have you ever
It was
asked
important to
your
you.
wife to let you money?
We're not discussing that, we're discussing you.
You had a responsibility.
You had a responsibility.
And I'm not denying.
And first of all, if you can't handle a dog, how is somebody that weighs half your weight, if not more, gonna walk the dog and the dog was pulling you?
I'm saying that I'm not saying that I will leave it up to her to take the dog out.
Yeah,
Well,
but
you
you're
said-
I will
me,
get
like
the
you
money
just
from
said.
her.
You said you're injured, you can't go down the
You
stairway
can't
with the
even-
dog
Yeah.
because you might trip and fall with pulling the
No, I
dog
just-
down the stairs because it's pulling.
We
That's
just
what you
said
said.
Yeah, I said when he meets somebody new, he pulls me down the steps, and it's scary because of my leg. That's
I'm
exactly
sure
what I
it's scary, and that's the thing. It's not with any disrespect, but you can't handle the dog.
said. I understand that,
And so how do we do, what do we do? So, we're sitting here.
So why don't we try rolling him in dog class? That's
Well,
what you
but-
recommended.
But okay, so this is the deal. This is the deal. You're saying, I appreciate that you're saying you're sorry. I appreciate that you want to make things whole with the owner of the dog that was mauled. But you've got 2 instances so far that the dog got loose.
In 8 years.
Doesn't matter. My dog's never bit another dog. My dog's
Your
never
dog was
bit.
never attacked when he was 8 months old either.
Whatever. You can make up an excuse for anything. It is not,
I'm not
it's
making
not
excuses,
acceptable
man.
to have even one bite from another dog.
I'm not saying it
So
is.
now we've got 2, and then we sit here and we say, okay, do we go for a third, like, do we roll the dice and pray that, this dog doesn't get loose and really kill a dog or hurt an owner while they're trying to save their dog? Like, we have to think about the health of the people of the town of
But
Halifax.
their dog did not die, and it's still alive. And what you are
It
maybe
could have
the other
easily
suggestion
died.
that you're trying to make is that you will euthanize my dog, which takes it away from me, who's had him for 8 years, my daughter, who's had him for 5.
I would feel terrible about that.
So
And I would feel
let's not
terrible
go
for
down
the
that road.
dog.
Let me take.
And I would feel terrible
How
for
about
the
you
dog.
Give me the chance. Now that I'm actually here in person at the hearing, give me the chance to get the dog enrolled, keep him muzzled. She said so herself that she hasn't seen the dog outside in 6 to 8 months. She hasn't seen him outside by himself. I have been taking precautions. This is
I don't feel comfortable.
a point where it was an accident. It happened. I'm sorry for it. I've told them countless times that I'm willing to stop paying for their vet bills. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. I'm trying. I'm literally sitting here saying, I'll do everything you want me to do. I'll take the precautions necessary. But, I mean, for me, there's no other option. I can't even think about the alternatives.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Can you look at this picture again? Can you tell me where that pallet is? Thank you.
I can't tell from this
Pallet that I've
photo.
seen. If he's saying it's near the gate, where is it?
There isn't a pallet.
Thank you.
Because it's not in that photo.
But what we have at
there's
this
a pallet
point,
there.
but what we have at this point is we have photos showing that the gate has been fixed. And I understand your frustration, and I'm sure you were scarred from this whole event. I cannot even imagine what you both have gone through with this incident, and I want you to know that. And, again, we love dogs, and as Troy will say, it's not the dog's fault, it's the people's fault. Whenever we hold a hearing, 9 times out of 10, it's because the dog has not been properly trained or restrained, right? So this is how these things happen.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Sure.
The dog that we have that was attacked, she was also a rescue. She was attacked. She has scars from before. She is always on a halter. She's always on a leash. And we've never had an incident with her. And yes, she does bark and she snarls because that's what she does. But she never has attacked anybody.
Well, you
And
need to
she's
get
always
control
on-
of the snarling and all that stuff too, because she may scare another dog, so let's go there. I mean, that's the thing, like, people need to pay attention to their dogs if they have any kind of aggressive behavior. because any kind of aggressive behavior could turn into a bite to anybody. You know, because you don't know, she might antagonize a dog that wouldn't normally bite just by her demeanor. So, you know, here we sit, and you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I would lean more toward euthanizing this dog because I don't feel that you can handle the dog, and it would be really hard for me to do that. But I'd have to have total confidence that you can handle it. And what I have is that you've been very aggressive toward our animal control officer, and you haven't been very cooperative. And how do I know that you're actually going to follow through with it? I don't have a lot of confidence in you,
Was I
Mr. Wilson.
aggressive towards the animal control? I wasn't aggressive towards him.
No, I'm talking
I'm
about
not aggressive.
Noreen.
We haven't got along since I moved to Halifax because there was a discrepancy with my dog license. I had the dog license. She said that I didn't, and then I showed her the proof, and it went away.
Basically,
right now I don't have
he
the dog
showed me
license.
this, which is a rabies shot. It is
I'm not talking about
not
now.
a
I'm talking about before.
Halifax
Talking about
license.
4 years,
Yes.
3 years
When he
ago.
was
when I
hanging
moved
out
here.
the window of the
Yes.
second story,
Yes.
he said that a dog has a license in that manner.
Yes, I'm
When
sure.
I checked, he did not have a Halifax license, which he has not had for 2 years. And he still does not have it.
Okay, Troy?
As much as
Give me the
it,
chance to take the precautions necessary. I'll keep him muzzled, I'll keep him harnessed. I got the gate fixed, and I'll get him into animal classes.
let me put it to you this way from my own experience. I used to train dogs for police work. I've had dogs my whole life. Dogs reflect the personality of the individual that owns them. If you allow them to do things and get away with it, if anything, you're unfair to the dog because you haven't trained her enough not to be aggressive to get in this kind of trouble. And now you're telling me that all of a sudden you're going, when you get a big check-in, you're going to have all this fixed. If your girlfriend and I have no idea what your personal relationship is, why haven't you gone to that resource in the first place to have all these things done? In the past, all of a sudden, just like you said, you're the owner of the property, just now fixed the gate after something happened. Why are you waiting now to say, I'm going to borrow money to move the chain? Why couldn't you do it before?
Well, like I had said to you, have you ever had to ask somebody to borrow money? It's not the greatest feeling. I've just been taking precautions, like not letting him out by himself, bringing him out on a leash until the gate was going to be fixed.
Well, Phil,
She said that she had
right
to-
now, I'm leaning very close to having the dog euthanized. Only because I really don't believe that you're going to do things you're saying. You may say good intent.
Give me the chance and have another hearing in a couple weeks. And then you'll see that the dog will be licensed, he'll be.
You got an 8-year-old dog that's for 8 years, 7.5 years, if you say he got attacked when he was 8 months old, that has fumed with the internal agony, and that he's afraid of all kind of dogs, and sometimes maybe people. I'm not sure about that part of it. But all of a sudden, now in 2 weeks, you're going to train that out of an 8-year-old
No,
dog?
I'm not saying in 2 weeks. I'm saying in 2 weeks you can
He's
see.
gonna have the dog enrolled.
That I'm doing what I'm saying I'm gonna do. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm just gonna fix Rufus overnight. I'm saying, let me prove to you that I'm going to take the steps to get him to a better mind state so he's not dog aggressive anymore. Allow me to do that. The dog has a family.
You've had 2 years to do that.
I was never,
You knew
you
the
said that
dog
you had a
was
letter, but I was
aggressive.
never alerted.
Take the letter out of it. Even if you didn't get the letter, as I said at the beginning of the hearing, you knew the incident happened with Mr. Conroy's dog. You knew it happened. So even if you didn't receive the letter, or 2 letters, you knew about the incident.
As far as the incident with Mel Conroy, the dog, my
He got
dog,
loose.
Rufus, he got loose, he jumped up at the other dog and scratched its hindquarters.
Because
I
she had
didn't
to
know-
hold it up, or
but
else
I
the
didn't
dog
know-
might have had the same
but
kind of
I understand
injury.
that, but I didn't know that the dog was gonna bite somebody, or not somebody, another dog. I just, that day he jumped up and he scratched another dog. I didn't know that he was gonna.
No, I think that Mr.
He's never
Conroy,
attacked anybody before
Mr.
Mr.
Wilson,
Conroy's
excuse
dog.
me, Mr. Wilson, I am sure that Mr. Conroy explained to you that his wife saved his dog, because if she hadn't lifted the dog up so high, then his dog may have had a similar injury to what these people have
But
experienced.
we can't talk.
But
about
you
it because
know
doesn't
that
have
he
injury.
went after him. The dog went after Mel's dog. Correct?
He jumped up and tried to get to it, yes.
Exactly.
But he did not bite his
Exactly.
dog.
Oh, for all
It's
this
it's
whole-
not like his wife is 6'5". My dog is way taller than his wife is, so if he was gonna bite Mr. Conroy's dog, he would've.
Mr. Conroy, Mel, I'm sorry. Did you explain how aggressive the dog had been to Mr. Wilson?
He wasn't there.
I was not there at the time of the incident. I am only relaying my experience with Mr. Wilson. I stopped after we had gone to the vet and asked for a rabies certificate, if he had one updated, because he could not provide one that night, the incident, to the animal control officer, which is what forced us to go to the VCA in Weymouth because of the owl. We would have, had there been no scratch, no blood, and he would, or even if there was blood, had he been able to provide a rabies vaccination certificate that night, we may not have incurred the costs that we incurred going up to the VCA. We may have been able to do something locally. The VCA is a much more expensive veterinary service, but we felt it was our responsibility to get the dog there in case it needed to be.
Did Mr. Wilson offer to pay for your vet bills?
He vocalized his intent when my wife presented him with a bill that we reduced because Jack was scheduled for a rabies certificate that spring, that we would have incurred that cost anyhow. We wiped that off. We didn't want to burden him with unnecessary costs. My sole reason for coming here this evening is to ensure that the Patellos receive remuneration for the costs they've incurred.
So you're saying that Mr. Wilson did allude to the fact that he would reimburse you for your vet bills and you did not get reimbursed?
Jennifer provided him with a bill. He did not pay back.
Mr. Wilson, why did you not pay?
I haven't heard from them. I don't know where their house is. They didn't give me a phone number. She stopped by my house. She said, here's a bill, and then she disappeared.
Well, the bill would, his address would have been on the bill. I
His
would
address was
imagine.
not on the bill. There was no address on the
There's a
bill.
copy of the bill here from the VCA with my wife's name and our home address.
Okay, thank you. Noreen, do you have a recommendation?
It's a real tough decision. I don't want to blame the dog. I don't want to do that. There is a positive that the fence has been repaired somewhat. It still can be pushed on the right-hand side because I checked that today.
You can't push on it. It's a fresh concrete. I really hope you didn't push on it. It just got done yesterday, and it was soaking wet. It was horrible.
Before I was interrupted, when you push on the gate on the right-hand side, the whole latching system will push away, and it doesn't take much. And if he pushed through another door, he could very easily push through this one, because it's not secure, it's not tight enough.
Is it a C-clip? Is that what?
Yes, it is, it
It's
is.
2 C-clips. And the solid fence guy assured me
Again,
that.
if you're facing Lindy's,
Yeah.
there are 2 fences on either side. If you're facing Lindy's, to the right side is 1 clip latch.
Did you happen to observe a pallet by any chance?
No, I did not. I don't recall seeing a pallet.
Just curious.
Pallet's right next to my steps. I can take a photo of it and be back here in 5 minutes if you want.
When I first
Yeah.
decided to come on the Board of Selectmen, I was admonished by several people. You're a glutton for punishment. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, dogs, dogs, dogs. And truthfully, in 4 years, the worst times I've had on this board have been dog hearings, without any exception. And it's not the dog typically, although occasionally it's the dog, but it's the people who are handling the dog. Again, I've heard you say several things tonight about remuneration, taking care of vet bills, getting the license, putting up a fence so we can't see dogs. I don't see you having the resources to do all of those things effectively at one time. I have really grave concerns that you can handle this animal.
Give me a chance to prove you wrong, sir. I will get the stuff done. I promise you I don't know what else I can say till I'm blue in the face, but I can show you if you give me some. And since the incident has happened, the dog has not been outside without a leash constantly.
And I'm gonna go
Every
back.
time.
I'm gonna go back to Mr. Conroy's bill. It had his address on it, and you didn't follow up with that. How much was the bill for?
It was only $280. We basically wrote it off as an uncollectible expense. We fortunately didn't experience the same amount of trauma. So we certainly weren't gonna chase down $200. It wasn't worth it.
No, but it's $200 of your hard-earned money.
Yeah, no, and ultimately,
That you wouldn't have had to
I almost
do
feel a
if
little remorse and guilt for not chasing it down. That maybe perhaps that would have been the impetus to
Do something.
corral the dog and understand the gravity of the situation and understand the potential for further risk that he was undertaking by keeping the dog.
So do the neighbors feel strongly that they don't want the dog? I don't want to put you on the spot, but is this part of the neighborhood chat? Is it people are nervous about this dog?
I know I personally can only speak for myself. Whenever I walk my dog past that area, I am constantly on alert.
So you're not at peace?
But have you seen the dog out there by himself since it happened?
Since our incident, I have on occasion seen your dog in the yard.
By himself?
By himself.
In the last?
In the last 2
2 years.
years, I can't give you dates, I can only speak from my observation.
I may have
And it's not a regular thing, I don't want to say that he's being 100% neglectful, but he's not
Yes.
taking the proaction that's required of owning an aggressive dog.
I will admit that maybe not maybe, I haven't, taken all the precautions necessary to keep this from happening, and I'm sorry for that. But now I see how bad it is. He's never attacked a dog like that before. He only ever scratched Mr. Conroy's dog in the whole 8 years that he's been alive.
Well, that's because she held him up over her head.
I understand that, but if she didn't hold him up over her head, who is here to say that it would have been different? He could have just barked at him.
He's got some nuts with candy and nuts with all, have a wonderful Christmas.
Making comments like that's not really helpful.
Well, the dog did scratch the dog at least, at very least.
It showed
So
aggression.
the aggressiveness was there.
I have been nothing but forthcoming with every piece of information about the dog. I am willing to borrow the money to make sure everything is secure and this never happens again. I've said that countless times. Give me an opportunity. Have another hearing in 2 weeks or a month or a week, and you'll see me making progress. I'll get him enrolled into a class. He does not come out of the house without a leash on right now. Even after he was released from the...
Is it a leash that actually fits him?
Yes, and he
That-
has a harness.
Is it the same leash that Mr. Kling
He
observed
was
you?
talking about a collar, not a leash.
Okay,
Yeah, when I released him from quarantine, it's the same collar, it's still loose.
still loose.
So he has a harness, and he's been on the harness.
Mr. Kling, do you have an opinion?
I'll be very blunt, I don't think Mr. Wilson should have a dog.
Thank you.
Did Maureen did we ultimately get a recommendation?
No, you didn't. I really don't know. I have to acquiesce. I'm fearful unless he makes drastic, tomorrow morning. He's got to be there get his Halifax license and maintain it. That would be absolutely number one. If he has to bungee cord and secure his boat fences, that's gonna be his responsibility to keep that dog contained. Every time it steps out of the house with a muzzle, it has to have a muzzle, an adult, an able-bodied adult. Walk that dog, let him go to the bathroom, and come right back in the house. I mean...
I can do all those things.
Unless that is, if any report of the dog escaping by accident, because the
for
dog
any
owner,
reason.
for any reason, I don't care if a tornado blew through, that fence line has to be checked on a regular basis. Each and every, before he goes out. I mean, unless it is that drastic, and the dog owner being conscientious, which he has not shown in the past 2 years. Unless he can make a drastic change. I don't know. I have to acquiesce to the board as far as that goes, because unless it was like that for me, I wouldn't feel safe for the citizens of Halifax to be able to walk their dog freely up and down the roads.
One of my concerns is how do we monitor that? I'm not gonna drive by there every day to see if there's a bungee cord on the fence.
Maureen can. Well, not every day of her life, but in the next couple of weeks, she can monitor the progress.
And if he doesn't say that he's going to make some improvements, and I don't see improvements, I don't want to be confrontational with him.
Right.
I just want, maybe the board can recommend a daily itinerary for him to, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And he should provide a written report weekly on what he's accomplished. If he can't do that, then
Who had their hand up?
I would just like to ask you guys to take into consideration that Rufus is our family. Like, yes, this happened, but beside of him, all he wants to do is lie around and get cuddles. He's been there with us through everything. Like, I really need you guys to take into consideration that fact. This is my baby. I love Rufus so much.
I'm sure you do, and it's very hard for us to even have that conversation because we do understand that we feel terrible for the dog too. We do, and I want you to know that. So whatever decision that we make, you need to know that we understand that, and we would feel pretty bad about that. But you also need to understand that our charge is to keep the residents and the dogs of the town of Halifax safe. And so this is not a personal thing, this is our charge. So with that, I will entertain a motion. Oh, do you have one more thing to say?
I was going to say that during my walks, I also observed the dog really inside the house, bolting towards a side window that's in the apartment. It was showing, barking and...
Dogs are allowed to bark.
Yep. I mean, it shows his vitality, if I may use that term.
Okay.
If I might add something.
Sure, Mr. Wilson.
If two people have two children, and they get in a really bad fight, one of the children gets injured, cut, scrape, bruise, does that other child get put down because they got into a fight?
I don't think that that's the right analogy when we're talking about right now.
These are our children, am I wrong?
If there's a child that injures their sibling to the point where there's a hospital, then maybe there could be charges brought against them.
Charges, but not death.
Well, this is the thing. Obviously, it's a totally different situation because those are humans and we do, treat things differently. And so do you have anything more to say before I entertain a motion from the board member?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I would move that the dog be euthanized.
Based on what I'm hearing, I'd have to second that, at least for a vote.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm very sorry, but it's a decision that we had to make.
Just so the board's aware, there is an appeals
Yeah, well, I was
process,
going to say that,
but
Tom,
we
we
will
got him all
inform
down.
the dog owners of that.
Yes. Sooner rather than later.
And I would recommend that the letter we sent to him be delivered to the door by an officer or
Yes.
escorted so
So
that he
there's
has
no
it in his hands, no question about it, that he has the rights to appeal this decision to the local lower court or whatever. I feel bad for the dog.
Feel bad for everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Norm. Thank you.
Chief,
Thank you, Mel. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump.
That's right. You guys can forward that letter to him, the letter.
Yeah, tomorrow, okay. Yeah, we'll have a parade tomorrow. I'm missing something here.
Make copies?
We can make copies, sure.
I know.
If the board would declare a recess for a couple minutes, so we
Yeah.
can make the necessary copies.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that was a,
That was awful.
Is Ms. Smith here? Is Ms. Smith here? Hello. Sorry, not, yeah.
She's right here.
Great, sorry, I got names wrong.
I
My
don't know
apologies.
about
Yeah. So if you could come on up, so we'll be ready when Pam comes back, we'll get started again.
Would you like?
Right out front, don't worry. They don't throw things.
Are they?
Poll permits? Yeah, well, we know we have residents who are opposed to having the poles above ground. They want their utility, they want to put the utilities
How
above
are you?
ground.
Good, how are
Because
you?
they-
Should probably stay.
Hello.
I don't know how controversial it is, but I'll just tell you, it's not, many times, there's nobody comes in. In this case, we did get a letter from Webber Engineering saying the covenants.
It's not the dog's fault.
it's the owner, always the owner.
There are no
I've always said, we don't have dog hearings, we have people hearings.
How well you handle that.
Oh, thank you.
Really well, really, with compassion for
Yeah,
everybody.
we were real good.
Thank you.
It was very well done.
Yeah, she's going to be missed.
I know.
There isn't that much compassion between
So
Troy
you
and
moved to Hull?
I am.
I grew up there.
You did?
I did. Where are you moving?
I'm moving to Ken Burma Street on the ocean side. Yeah.
It's a nice town.
So I can walk to Weinberg's.
We've already notified the police out there to look out.
Car will just be slowly going at the same
Yeah.
speed as Kim's walking down the street.
They do the loop. They definitely have whatever. I mean, I'm not there that
Are we all
often.
set?
but-
Pam, are you back?
we're back in.
Okay, so we're rocking and rolling again. So Ms. Smith is here. Yes, try the right name?
That is correct.
Great.
So you're here to be
And
appointed.
sorry for such a long wait to,
I know, we apologize. That was.
No, that's quite all right.
So she's interested in serving the Council on Aging. We have a current vacancy. We have representatives from the Council on Aging here also.
really?
So you're here, and we have representatives who have voted to support the appointment. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be a part of the Council on Aging?
Good enough, you're, no. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, I moved to Halifax in 1984, but I was very involved as a teacher and a coach and did have an opportunity to really be in a position to contribute to the community. And now that I'm retired, and I've been semi-drafted by my friends, but I've gone to the Council on Aging to be part of the Joy of Writing group, where I have met Ellie and Ava, who are on the board. And as a result of that, I really was impressed by just all the services that the Council on Aging handles and the quality of the volunteers that are there in a situation which is not the best to provide those services.
Yes.
But just very impressed, and I'm amazed at how much they do, whether it's scheduling the vans or providing special activities and the foods and all the different activities that they do. And I thought, it's time for me to get involved and give back as I age, and will be probably eventually wanting those services. It's a good thing to give back. And I'm very impressed with the people and the quality of the people that I've met through that Council on Aging.
And I know you mentioned that you have been a resident here. Have you attended town meeting?
I have attended a few.
Awesome.
Yes, I have.
That's good.
I should attend more.
Yes, because it's really there where the decisions are made. We work all year on the budget. We work all on, our recommendations, but it's really such the purest form of democracy, so that it's really the people that vote for everything. So I look forward to seeing you at this year's town meeting if you can be there.
Well, it can also be discouraging if something that's voted for
I know.
is then rescinded in August. So, and
I
that seems
know.
about the Council on Aging, that doesn't encourage people to attend.
No, I understand, and I know we were all
But,
very
you
disappointed.
know, I think we need to really look at too, you know, I was reading in the newspaper about how many nursing homes are closing in Massachusetts. Do we have a handle on, I'm sure we could by logistics, but how many people are aging in our own community? So, you know, how many people are the age group of the 50s and 60s that will be aging into needing services provided by the Council on Aging? And if nursing homes go, then you're gonna have to look at adult daycare or other, providing more services to the community. So I think that the demands on the COA services are only going to increase. And I'd like to just be a part of supporting whatever endeavors go forward and to provide services for the very needy citizens in our community that are.
What kind of teaching did you do?
I was director of physical education for Braintree Public Schools.
Awesome.
Oh, well, you've convinced me.
Tom, do you have any?
I don't have anything to ask after that. I mean, you presented very well. I think you'd be a great asset to the Council on Aging. I'm thrilled that you're interested in serving. It's a huge responsibility. If you so desire to take it on, it's a huge responsibility, and it appears you do. I'm certainly supportive. I would be ecstatic to have you on our Council on Aging.
And she has a mean three-point shooter.
A three-point shooter.
She's a three-point shooter. She played for the Celtics, too.
So I'll entertain a
I was a
motion.
gymnast, I wasn't a basketball player.
What's that? I don't, is that a
Flip
sport?
a lot, but hopefully not enough on voting.
So I'll entertain a motion to appoint Marge Smith to the.
Wholeheartedly, I move it.
Happy to second it. I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say something else.
No, I'm through making some private cracks.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir.
You realize that it's open-ended, you can't.
Yeah, you can't clear it.
I understand. Thank you so much.
I get to
No,
sign your
thank
adoption
you.
papers.
It's the last one you get to sign.
My last adoption paper to sign.
So Pam will send you a letter of instructions on how to get sworn in with the town clerk's office.
Which is basically show up and see the sign clerk.
Yeah. And then we'll get it.
Yeah.
Make it official.
And thank you for the support service.
Yeah.
I'll see you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have my tea ready.
COA, TICAs, you know.
Sorry, I just have to answer text. I have to answer something quickly. But you guys go
Okay,
ahead while
so
we do this.
our next appointment is with Mr. Bob Grant. This is for the Halifax solar facility over on River Street. He's in to discuss the project and the permit fees and such.
Thank you.
Hi.
Haven't seen you in,
2 hours.
Anyway. I'm going to see you again.
that's right. Well, thank you for fitting me in. I just wanted to give you an update, and I also had a request, which I'm not sure how you'll deal with it, but we've gotten going over there, as you may have heard, or if you've driven by. And we're currently finishing up earthwork and moving towards starting to install equipment. Hopefully, we're going to start trenching for underground utilities, underground conduit installation starting as early as hopefully next week. We've applied for our building permit, the general building permit. We'd already gotten a demolition permit, and in talking with the building inspector, we talked about the fee structure. We've also met with the assessors to discuss, at least engage and start the process of discussing a pilot. We've been asked to go off and generate some additional information, do some sort of research about the decommissioning issue and how we intend to handle that. We have a follow-up meeting scheduled for, I think it's next week.
Wednesday, is it? I think it's Wednesday here at 4:15 or something.
And I think by that point, we'll have some good information about the process of decommissioning, what we anticipate the cost to be, And, you know, we would have a proposal, I think, at that time about how we would intend to make the town and the townspeople comfortable on how we would handle it. Sort of in the evolutionary process of the timeline, having applied for the permit, we have 30 days, the building inspector has 30 days to issue the permit. And in looking at previous pilot agreements, oftentimes a building permit fee is oftentimes waived or wrapped in, or, you know, it's kind of dealt with in that context. And because we're in this situation where we've applied, we want to get going, he has to make a decision. We're still in the process of developing information and getting to a comprehensive proposal. He suggested that I come and seek maybe possibly some direction or possibly some relief on the issue. Just our own experience, typically we see a building permit fee that runs roughly 1% of the cost of construction, value of the equipment, whatever the improvements. And the fee, obviously, as you know, the structure here is a little bit different. It kind of struck, I don't know the full history, but it looks like, it strikes me a little bit more as something that would be more attuned to a kind of a residential installation where someone's putting 20 or 30 panels maybe on their roof, and $1 per module number would make perfect sense. But when you get into 19,000 modules, it adds up.
Although we'd appreciate the revenue, of
I
course. but-
fully appreciate that.
Cash up front.
Absolutely.
And no refund.
I'm going to defer to Tom.
Well, I was going to jump in eventually anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut him off.
No, and I apologize. I try to suggest that I put something more formal.
No. Honestly, my recommendation would be where the Board of Assessors has begun negotiating, and this was on the table, the permit fee.
Yes.
You know, depending on how we worked out the details of the 20-year schedule of payments and the decommissioning issue, which we delved into with some exchange. Yeah, it was very animated. Yeah. We went down a lot of different trails.
Well, and I think I know that you just did, but I think what we've gotten back for feedback from town's residents is they're not so much worried about the field, they're worried about 20 years from now.
Right.
So that as much as I know there was plenty of conversation, that's going to be an extremely important point for the town, because these folks don't want their successors going to their graves or going to their hospital beds or wherever else and cursing them out, let alone somebody coming looking for me either. So.
Yeah, well, we also discussed that the dynamics of a town meeting, and you know, this could be a stumbling block for ratification of the pilot agreement. So I think we're on the road. I think we can work this out.
I think we
all understand where we're coming from.
Understand.
So do you want to make a decision tonight? Or you want to wait until you meet next
I would
Wednesday?
recommend that we
Defer to
continue,
this week.
you know, because we did go to have authorized the Board of Assessors to negotiate the pilot agreement. I think we should wait for their recommendation.
Okay.
So I guess but there are 30 days where Rob has to make a decision, go or no go.
Well, we're scheduled to keep working.
Okay.
So the 30 days is up when?
It's the 8th or 9th of April.
Well, we have another meeting on the 23rd.
Yes.
Right.
So if necessary, we can bring this back to the board on the 23rd.
And if necessary, the Board of Assessors can have an additional meeting too.
Someone suggested it was easier to deal with it on the front end rather than us paying the fee, which is obviously...
No, you don't want, because then if we in fact come up with some other arrangement, returns of funds is not something that's going to happen.
We don't recycle those funds.
Understood.
I'm confident we can come to some decent resolution here as long as we keep moving.
Understood. Okay. Well,
Thank you so much. Sorry for the lateness of your appointment.
We've had dogs for 30 years, and unfortunately, all 3 of them passed in 1 year.
Wow.
See, I had two passed on me.
I'm so sorry.
And so it's heart-wrenching.
I haven't gotten anything back yet since that time. I just can't bring myself to get another one.
Well, I told my wife we'd take a break, but I've already won. I'm going.
Yeah, she won't.
I know, yeah. It's
So
tough.
Dog hearings are the
Terrible.
worst.
Terrible predicament for you guys to be in, so.
I know, but it's our job.
We've got Kim, so.
No.
That's okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Have a good
Nice to see
night.
you.
So our next scheduled appointment, which was for, I believe, 8:45, is a poll hearing for polls at 107 River Street.
With Simon Young.
So Simon is here from National Grid, and you are here to talk to us about the pole at 107 River Street. And do we have anybody in the audience that is concerned about the pole at 107? Oh, you, okay.
Ooh, still here, huh?
I'm concerned.
Oh, right, of course, yeah. Okay, hi, welcome, we'll call upon you.
Yeah, this is basically the same solar job that Bob was talking about.
Yeah.
This is promoting we're actually just putting 2 poles on River Street. All the other pole work is, it's gotta be basically replaced, and all remaining, we're gonna restrung 3 cables, basically, in replace of the one that will now, basically the service, up in solar site.
So I'm assuming Bob is for it.
Will it interfere with any service to anybody living in the general area?
There's
No
It's
downtime?
mostly the closest one is Pratt Street, and I think 11 Pratt Street is the first one in the corner. And I don't think anywhere near is over as one of the.
So these are for 2 new poles on the street itself. Just trying to get stuff into the record, so looking at this, we'll know what happened.
I've looked at this, I didn't see an issue
Yeah.
with this.
I think it's
I don't see an issue.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the pole at 107 River Street.
I'll move that.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and now we're gonna talk about the pole at 8 Hilda Lane. And I'm assuming, bye-bye, Bob.
Thank you.
Are you here to talk about the pole?
Yeah, back.
Okay, so we'll have Simon just explain a little bit about the pole, and then we'll ask you to weigh in.
So 8 Hilda Lane is a new service, so Brown Builders is going to be in charge of all the construction and all that. I think it's just a new construction, they just have a temp service up right now, and they're requesting service for the temp station, and the last pole is about 200-300 feet, so we need at least 1 pole, and he was thinking of going underground to the new house, so we need another one at least on the other side where the new house is going to be. So we're just gonna put 2 at once, and he told me Hilda Lane is a public road, so it's like, he's in the position.
Yeah, I have some issues with that because of the proposed subdivision plan from, I don't know, 7 years ago, or wherever it was. I think we've ended up with 2 lots there that are basically gonna be landlocked without frontage on a street. What I'm getting at is you may be putting in some poles for something that isn't gonna happen. I don't know that for a fact. And I don't think you care as long as you get paid for them. But I just wanted to bring that up, and I'm sure there's some follow-up to that, my commentary.
Anybody in the audience would like to make a comment about it?
Yes.
Hi.
Webby Engineering.
Hi, Mr. Webby.
How you doing?
And you-
Here's my son Brian, who lives
Never copied
at
this.
6 Hilda Lane, 4 Hilda Lane, and Paul Jackson from the ASK Realty Trust. And I did write a letter to the Selectmen, which
Yes.
Charlie has. Basically, in 2006, definitive subdivision created Hilda Lane.
13 years ago, I stand corrected.
And part of that subdivision process is the utilities are supposed to be underground. We don't know, in talking to the secretary to the planning board, no waiver has been asked for yet for relief from that regulation, that planning board regulation. And we do want to state that we want to see Hilda Lane constructed. And we're not sure what the purpose of these poles are for yet. Obviously, they're for electricity. But we want to see what the big picture is. If they're going to create, if they're going to upgrade Hilda Lane and pave it and put in power and all that, then that's what we would like to see. If not, then we want the subdivision to be built according to plan. And the covenant that was prepared and with the planning board approval.
So you're requesting the Board of Selectmen take no action at this time on the approval of the poll?
We're actually asking for your guidance.
I'm thinking that what you just said, to take no action and follow up on this. See, I don't believe any plan has been presented for any new construction, a single family or development or anything.
Right, as far as we can understand, nothing has been submitted yet.
I would like to try to get some feedback from the developer. We can certainly reach out to the owner and ask what their intention is here.
Do you have any idea what?
I think in the future, if this subdivision actually develops into a bigger kind of residential area than planned, we can basically install these poles ahead of time, and then later on, when these poles are up to like height and standards and stuff, we can run basically a different cable, just a single phase cable to the end of the last pole we're probably just gonna make, and then it'll go underground from the last pole that we're petitioning.
Yeah, there's two issues here, the power being one of them and what's going on is another. I don't know if there was any revocation of the subdivision. I mean, if it hasn't gotten put in.
I'm sure they've never, I mean, the planning board's usually not that aggressive about.
13 years ago.
I seem to think that something may have been done.
Okay, we can check.
And I think we should do that and find out.
Okay, Simon, so I think.
So we will continue this hearing until such time we hear from the planning board whether or not any revocations or anything has been changed this time.
Yeah, we had it publicly. Do we have to give notice and everything?
We did give
So
notice
we're gonna
to
need
the
this.
butters.
So you'll need to pick a date and time, even if it's simply to spend 30 seconds on that date to continue it again.
Right.
We need to officially, in essence, for anybody who's an interested party,
23rd.
tell them that we're gonna continue this.
Do you think we'd
23rd.
even have space for it? We're already at 9.
Well, my recommendation would be that you move it to the 28th of May.
Yeah, because the 23rd is.
And the May 13th will be the selectmen's meeting, a town meeting. We're trying to.
And prior to that, we're doing town meeting stuff on the 6th.
I mean, or the 7th. We could do the 7th if we think that we're going to have something by then.
May 7th?
Yeah.
Yeah, because May 7th, I believe, will be mostly a working meeting to get.
Would the board prefer having a daytime meeting or an evening meeting?
I could do it daytime.
The reason I'm asking is that we have that grievance that we've postponed. I mean, we're fine, I just need to be able to tell people which.
I would say daytime, is that okay?
As long as it's after 9:30.
So it's a Tuesday, are you babysitting now?
Yeah, he puts the kids in the bus and then by 9:30.
Oh, right, I forget that your little one's on the bus. I forgot.
And the wheels go round and round.
She's a big girl.
Yellow bus.
So we could meet at 10 o'clock on that day, is that okay?
Yeah.
10 o'clock in the
Sounds
morning
good.
on Tuesday the 7th.
I'll make sure that I won't schedule any other
So we're
appointments.
gonna continue this hearing to the daytime?
Yes, so it's gonna be Tuesday, May 7th at 10 a.m.
Pam has an important point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. What if the butter can't make it during the day? Because like, if people work during the day? I know that we didn't
Well,
really.
they could send in comments.
They could, yeah.
Right, and if they have an interest, I mean, the
Well, I think
abutters are here,
the
right?
most interested abutters are here. and
Are you
can
available?
probably
Can you
make
tell
it.
us whether you're available during the day? If you're not, then it would be helpful to know that.
I sent them.
I can make myself available during the day, yes. Most days, yes.
Let me see.
Oh,
So if we told you it was May 7th at 10 a.m.,
What day is it?
it's a
That's
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Yes. I'll be available.
You be okay? Okay.
Okay, so
All right,
would you
you'd
say
be-
May 7th at 10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
May
and some of us have to work, right?
10 a.m.
His father's a slave driver. so.
Yeah, because you know what, a lot of the other ones, the abutters were, let me just take a peek really quick.
Well, for the other abutters, if
I think they
they
might-
can,
yeah.
they can always call the office, they can find out whether we made a decision, whether we're continuing. If they have comments, as you all pointed out, they can send them in. If they say, we want to be there at a hearing, then while we'll meet on the 7th, there's nothing saying that the board has to make a decision that afternoon or
Right.
morning. And we can continue the hearing again to an evening meeting at some point.
Right, well, a lot of them were like on South and Walnut, Haywood Street.
Okay, this is for
Hilda Lane.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. And there was
But we didn't get a lot of people to come. to
Right,
this.
Yeah,
they're on South, yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
All the poles are on Hilda Lane.
Yeah.
Isn't like
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
anybody on
Yeah.
Haywood's gonna be too concerned about it.
Well, I mean, if we can schedule it for May 7th, but for some reason between now and then, something else comes up, and we get the information we need. maybe
Well,
we'll do-
just as we continue the revocation hearings,
Yeah, right.
the board would officially post for that date and time. If for some reason we just need to take 30 seconds and continue it again, that's what the board
Yeah.
does.
Right.
Okey dokey.
Not a problem. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Simon.
contact, I think Brown Village, and I'll let them know what we said.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Safe travels home, everybody. Thank you.
What happened to those Red Sox?
Yes.
I don't know, I haven't shown up
Like I
yet.
haven't changed hats yet.
Ah, you're smart, Mr. Webby.
Baseball yet.
You're smart, Mr.
They
Webby.
had open day today.
They had opening day?
Yeah.
I don't know,
And
I
then
think
Mr.
that's.
Pop, I think we did
I think you know, right, that's why
There's
it's
three
good to
different
help.
sets, okay?
That's a lot of signs.
I know it is, I know it is, just thinking,
Look, somebody's got to run the show when you leave.
Oh, you know, quit, her head's swollen enough. My God.
Come on, let me get all swelled up because I'm not
How
gonna
are
have
we going to survive
anything.
without you?
I'm not gonna have anything when I'm done. I mean, I'm gonna be like
Your voice-
Oh,
pulling
stop
up.
it. Your poor Hall, you'll be involved in everything out there.
Hang on, do we have anything else for the
I'll be
board?
the official dog hearing person.
So whole point, street openings we did, live entertainment permits, anything?
No, no.
Then are we ready to?
Yes, we are ready to
I would
adjourn.
move that we adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Sign something first.
All those in favor?
Well, so who's moving?
I moved
Troy
it.
moved it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Why do I need to sign this?
I am
Okay.
Benito Benito.
Joy, hold on.